always takes care of the time, and over to our MCs.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 8th Nitte International Conference with the compelling theme, The Post-Pandemic Resurgence, the Challenges and Concerns. In this conference, the brilliant minds from around the world are gathered here to exchange ideas, inspire each other, and shape the future.
We are honored to have esteemed delegates and invitees amidst us to make this international event a memorable one. This conference serves as a platform for experts, researchers, and professionals to discuss breakthroughs, share experiences, and foster meaningful connections and collaborations. Before we begin, let us go through the brief journey of Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management, a constituent unit of Nitte deemed to be university. Established in 1998 and named after a visionary leader, Justice K.S. Hegde, the former judge of Supreme Court and former Speaker of Lok Sabha. This institute offers a top-notch AICTE-approved MBA program, accredited by leading bodies like ACBSP and NBA. It also boasts a PhD program and a strong focus on research. Cutting-edge technology, global collaborations, industry visits, and student-driven activities equip graduates for success in today's competitive landscape. Our institute's future-oriented curriculum emphasizes a holistic, multidisciplinary approach to prepare well-rounded, impactful leaders. We are so delighted to inform you all that Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management has recently celebrated its Silver Jubilee celebration with pomp and prestige. We are extremely happy to host this 8th Nitte International Conference at our esteemed institute.
This 8th Nitte International Conference has emerged with the contemporary theme, The Post-Pandemic Resurgence, the Challenges and Concerns. This signifies the period of re-emergence, reopening, and recovery following the pandemic's disruptions. While many aspects of our life are returning to normalcy, various challenges and concerns linger, impacting individuals, communities, and global systems. This 8th Nitte International Conference is organized in association with Rotterdam School of Management, the Netherlands, University of Pennsylvania, USA, University of Connecticut, USA, and Chanakya University, Bengaluru, India.
Amidst us, we have our distinguished dignitaries, Professor Dr. Yashwanta Dongre, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Chanakya University, Bengaluru, who will inaugurate the conference.
We also have Dr. Narasimhan Srinivasan, Associate Professor, University of Connecticut, USA, who will deliver the keynote address.
The chief guest for today's conference is our very own Professor Dr. M.S. Muditaya, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Nitte deemed to be University. The guest of honor is Professor Dr. Gopala Mogeraya, Vice President, Technical Education, Nitte deemed to be University.
And we have Professor Dr. Gururaj H. Kidiyur, Director, Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management, who will preside over this inaugural session.
I request Dr. T. Mallikarjunappa and Dr. Sudhir M. to accompany the esteemed guest onto the dais. Sir, please.
It is our custom to begin every occasion and event with a prayer. Purification of the soul is what prayer is all about. It clears our minds of unfavorable ideas. It aids us in realizing our hopes and dreams. I call upon Ms. Nidhi to invoke the blessings of the Almighty God. Kindly rise for the same.
ताई शारद लोक पूजिते ज्ञानदाते नमोस्तुते प्रेमदिंदलि सलहु माते नी ನೀಡು ಸನ್ಮತಿ ಸೌಖ್ಯದಾತೆ ಅಂಧಕಾರವ ಓಡಿಸು ಜ್ಞಾನ ಜ್ಯೋತಿಯ ಬೆಳಗಿಸು ಅಂಧಕಾರವ ಓಡಿಸು ಜ್ಞಾನ ಜ್ಯೋತಿಯ ಬೆಳಗಿಸು ಹೃದಯ ಮಂದಿರದಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಲೆಸು ಚಿಂತೆಯಾಳಿಸು ಹೃದಯ ಮಂದಿರದಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಲೆಸು ಚಿಂತೆಯಾಳಿಸು ಶಾಂತಿಯ ಉಳಿಸು.
Ladies and gentlemen, I cordially invite Dr. T. Mallikarjunappa, conference convener, to welcome the gathering and enlighten us about the conference.
Good morning, everyone. It's my proud privilege to welcome every one of you who have gathered here for 8th Nitte International Conference. The world has gone through almost an unprecedented event, the pandemic. In my own reading, I have never seen the pandemic which really spread every nook and corner of the world. In 2020, when the world went through unprecedented crisis of lockdowns, not only in our country, but also every other country in the world, people and experts were wondering whether the world will limp back to the normalcy. The beauty of mankind is we forget the difficulties quite fast, and that has happened with the pandemic also. And we are all gathered here to take note of what has been the experience of different sectors of the economy, maybe the society, maybe the world at large. So in this international conference, we thought we would just deliberate on what has happened, how the world has again come back to the normalcy. Did we go through any of the difficulty, and how did the various sectors of the economy, society cope with these things? Keeping this in view, we have organized this international conference, the post-pandemic resurgence, challenges and then concerns. The challenges and concerns still remain, because in the recent 1 week again, we have seen the number of virus increasing. So the worry is, will we come back to the same thing which we experienced in 2020, or would it be different? So these are the big questions. So in this international conference, we would be deliberating on all these things in 8 technical sessions, 4 doctoral conclaves, 3 virtual sessions, 2 workshops, and 1 panel discussion. This is the way we have organized this 2-day international conference. Before I begin my welcome speech, my earnest appeal to every one of you who are here, researchers, faculty members who have come to this international conference, is to please attend all the sessions, because we have taken pains to see that the best of the brains come here and give the feedback. For 2 hours of technical session, we have allocated only 4 papers. So each paper presenter will get 15 minutes for presentation, 10 minutes for the feedback by the chair, 5 minutes for Q&A. So that is the way. We don't want anybody to hurry through. So please take your time. And we have invited the session chair from different institutions. They would be giving the feedback. And if you yourself have anything to say on the papers presented in the same venue, you are most welcome to do that. All these will take place within our institution, except the virtual sessions. Virtual sessions would be chaired by the professors from abroad and also from other institutions, central universities. With this very brief, I again appeal to all of you, please make best use of this opportunity, because we want to ensure that the research culture is spread. And if people have been asking, how do we publish in the top-notch journal, we thought we would give input on that. We have arranged 2-hour sessions, two 2-hour sessions each, first day and also second day, these 2 workshops. So please make best use of these opportunities. So with this very brief introduction about our 8th Nitte International Conference, let me come to the pleasant task of introducing and also welcoming all the guests who have gathered here. I very cordially welcome Professor Yashwant Dongre, Vice Chancellor of Chanakya University and one of the collaborating universities of this conference, and the renowned scholar in cooperation and also third sector research. Professor Yashwant Dongre has taught in Mangalore University, University of Mysore. He has occupied different positions in the University of Mysore and also in Mangalore University. I will not go through the entire thing, because if I go through the entire thing, it will take a long time. Just to give a very brief introduction, he has been instrumental in, starting third sector research center in University of Mysore. He was in charge Vice Chancellor of the University of Mysore. He has served as Director of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation Board of the University of Mysore. Currently, he is the Vice Chancellor of Chanakya University. And one of the most passionate field for Yashwant Dongre, I have seen this very closely, is the cooperative movement. Not just the cooperative movement in this country, but cooperative movement around the world. So he has served in different capacities. He has been the advisor for the Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India, and the advisory board which gave the report to the Government of India paved the way for 97th Amendment of the Constitution of India. So with that, I very cordially welcome Professor Yashwant Dongre, who has come here for inaugurating this session. Another luminary who is with us and who is also representing another collaborating university is Professor Narasimhan Srinivasan. Professor Narasimhan Srinivasan is currently teaching marketing in the University of Connecticut. He had his early education in BTech in chemical engineering, and then from the University of Madras, PhDM from IIM Ahmedabad, and PhD from the State University of New York. He has served in different capacities. He has been a Fulbright scholar, and he has visited China, Italy, Peru, Singapore in different capacities, and he has published in top-notch journals in the entire world. And Professor Narasimhan has agreed to give the keynote address, and he has traveled all the way from US to Nitte, one of the villages in the entire state, and he has given us this opportunity of listening to him. Maybe he would also give us the input. And more than this, Professor Narasimhan has also agreed to chair one of the technical sessions where he would be giving the feedback to the participants who would be making presentation. So, Professor Narasimhan, a very warm welcome to you. We have Professor M.S. Moditaya, who is our own Honorable Vice Chancellor. He has been instrumental, I would say, in starting this Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management. He was founder, director of Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management. And if Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management has been celebrating 25th year of its existence, I think there are footprints behind this entire 25th year by Professor Moditaya. Currently, he is the Vice Chancellor of the University, Nitte deemed to be university. He had his early education in the University of Mysore and PhD from Mangalore University and postdoctoral studies from University of Pennsylvania. And in Nitte deemed to be university, he has occupied different positions. He has published 10 books and a number of articles. He has been a Ford Foundation Fellow, and he has visited various universities. With this very short introduction, I deem it my privilege to welcome Professor M.S. Mudithaya, our own Vice Chancellor. We have Professor Gopal Mugeraya, who has achieved the best of the things in his career. He had his early education in BTech and MTech in chemical engineering from NIT Surathkal and PhD from the most prestigious institute of the country, Indian Institute of Science. Then he served as professor and dean and worked in various capacities in NIT Surathkal. And based on his contribution and research expertise, Professor Gopal Mugeraya was appointed as the director, NIT Agartala, and director, NIT Goa. He was a member of President of India's contingent to China, and you can just imagine it's not easy for anybody to be the contingent of President of India. He has served in various capacities. He was the privileged attendee at the BRICS Energy Conference in Moscow. He is an elected member of the Indian Institute of Chemical Engineering. Currently, he is serving as Vice President, Technical Education, Nitte deemed to be University. We have our own director, Professor Gururaj H. Kidyur, who took over as the director of this institute in April 2023. He had his early education in BE from Karnataka University, PGDM from TAPMI, and PhD from Manipal, Mahe. Before joining TAPMI as the faculty member, he had served in different capacities, worked in TVS Electronics, Wipro Infotech, Digital Equipments India Limited, and worked in various companies for more than 10 years. And he joined TAPMI as assistant professor in 1999. Then onwards, he has occupied different positions in TAPMI as the program chair, admissions chair, dean academics, and he loves teaching B2B marketing. Professor Gururaj Kidyur has been teaching in TAPMI for almost 25 years, and he has been a trainer for the executives and senior management levels of different companies, including Oracle, IBM, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, and other institutions. He has undertaken projects and consulting assignment for various organizations, and he is now spearheading the movement of taking Justice K. Sagde Institute of Management to the greater heights. So I very warmly welcome Professor Gururaj H. Kidyur for this. We have invited guests from different institutions. I think I may not be able to name every person who is here. Let me mention at least some of the names. Dr. Praveen Kumar Shetty, who has been advising us in various, in organizing this event and also in different events, is here. He is our Director of Research and Development, Nitte deemed to be University. I very warmly welcome you, sir, to this. We have Yogi Shegde, Campus Director, and he has kindly responded to our invitation, and he is here. And we have Professor Niranjan Chiplunkar, the principal of the institute. He is here. Professor A.P. Achar, CEO of Nitte Incubation Center. Nandan Prabhu, who would be moderating the panel. Syed, Deputy Director of International Relations. Veena, principal of Nitte First Aid College, and Professor N.S. Shetty, who has been helping us in different events. So very warm welcome to all of you. We have Dr. Yoshimi Igewa from Kyoto University, and she has come all the way from Kyoto to attend this conference. We have Professor Wainigo Michael from Oxon University, Hyderabad, and Jonathan Bay University, Nigeria. Very warm welcome to Michael. We have heads of the institutions, head of the departments, and the invitees who have responded to our invitation. So let me very warmly welcome all of you for this conference. We have session chairs, panel members, academic experts from different institutions who have accepted our invitation to give feedback and also to moderate the sessions. I very warmly welcome all of them to this conference. Now, any conference, national or international conference, can be called as a successful conference only when the delegates come from different parts of the country and also from around the world. So true to our call for papers, we have received the papers from different corners of the country and also from abroad, and delegates are here to present some of the papers. Some have opted for virtual session. Initially, we did not have this option of virtual sessions, but looking at the current condition, we thought we would give that because some of them said it is inevitable. And therefore, I very warmly welcome all the delegates who have come and gathered in this institute and who are also present in the virtual session. Now, the press and media has been giving coverage to our conference. I very warmly welcome press and media to this conference. Now, the conference of this magnitude, so many technical sessions, workshops, panel discussions, and all these things would not be possible but for the effort of the leader who has been leading the team of JKSHIM. He is leading the team of the faculty members, the students, administrative staff, and sends mail maybe at 10 o'clock in the night, 12 o'clock in the night, 1 o'clock in the night, keeps responding to all those calls. It is my colleague, Professor Sudhir, who is leading our entire JKSHIM team. So let me very warmly welcome Sudhir for this conference. Now, the backbone of this conference is our students who have been working behind the scene. They may not be seen here on the dais. We occupy the dais, but then they are the people who have been working. They are the people who serve food. They are the people who send the mails, and then lot of things our students have been doing with all dedication and motivation. So I very warmly welcome my student friends of JKSHIM for this international conference. Our own administrative staff from JKSHIM have been involved. Let me tell you that literally every faculty member, every administrative staff is involved in this conference because they have been sending mails. Somehow some restrictions have been imposed. You can't send more than 500 mails in a day. Therefore, this work was distributed to various faculty members and also administrative staff. And they have done this with all dedication. And I deem it my privilege to welcome everyone from the JKSHIM family for this Nitte International Conference. So I once again extend a very, very warm welcome to all those who have responded to our invitation and have gathered here. And I also welcome the caterers who have served wonderful food and who would be serving good food for the next 2 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Flowers are our way to express gratitude and respect. Now, this is a time to florally welcome our esteemed guest with the flowers of the season. I call upon my fellow mates to florally welcome the guest. Anandesh to Dr. Yashwanta.
The dispelling of darkness and igniting of thought and enlightenment. We are about to commence this conference by lighting the lamp of knowledge and wisdom. It's our honor to invite the esteemed guests to kindle the lamp.
Ladies and gentlemen, this marks the official inauguration of the 8th Nitte International Conference. We request you all to be a part of this enjoying, enchanting academic journey.
Thank you all. When you are around enormously successful people, you realize that their success isn't an accident. It's about hard work. We have amongst us Professor Dr. Yashwanta Dongre, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Chanakya University. Sir has over a decade of expertise in teaching, research, and educational administration, making significant contributions to the academia and the world of practitioners. We cordially invite you, sir, to deliver inaugural address. Professor Dr. Yashwanta Dongre.
Very good morning. Dr. Muditaya, the Vice Chancellor of Nitte University, all the dignitaries on the dash, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely happy to be back in Nitte. I think I participated in the first two conferences when Dr. Muditaya was the director of the institute, and in between missed a few, and now back at the 8th. So it's really a very happy moment to see so many faces, familiar people, to meet with them again in the same place. It's a very good thing for me. I should also begin by thanking Nitte University for considering Chanakya University to be a partner for this event. This is extremely important because Chanakya University is just 1.5 year old university, not even 2 year university, very young. And therefore I think it's a very generosity of Nitte to have invited to be partners. And we are very happy to be associated with this conference. I presume that since there is a keynote for the conference, which is going to really set the stage for all the deliberations, my job would be primarily to wish the conference well and formally open this conference. Nonetheless, as a person who has lived with pandemic like all of you, I'll also have a few things to say. I think all of us have our experiences to share when it comes to an issue like COVID. The way in which this conference is structured is something that struck my attention in the very first instance, is a kind of coverage that you have. I was looking at those titles of the papers, and it spreads into probably everything that is possible. There is health related issues, there is societal issues, there is technology issues, there is banking issues, and everything in this conference papers, which is indicative of the fact as to how much this pandemic has actually affected all sectors, all walks of life. So therefore, I think you have research going on in all these areas in relation to the pandemic. Having lived with it, though I am not very sure whether we can very confidently say the post-pandemic, because maybe it is still not over. We are under a direction to wear the masks again now. So, but still I think after 22, there seemed to be some kind of a new growth momentum, a new perspective about possibilities in the economy and society that has come up. A few challenges which I think each one of us encounter would keep reminding us about what happened in the 2 years' time. Sometimes when we look back at the second wave of COVID in India, I think many of us consider to be extremely lucky that we have survived. So if we really go through what happened in the second wave, from that time to the way today, I think people do things with vengeance, from tourism to new investment to the stock market boom and whatever you are trying to see today, sometimes I think makes you wonder whether people have forgotten pandemic or whether it is something that happened that slowed down everything in the 2 years that makes us think that something new is happening. It's in a way the continuity of something that we did not understand in those 2 years that has continued. Today's things are also very difficult to understand. So we say that a few things happened in these 2 years and some of them are irreversible things. What happened during 20 to 22, the impact of that and something that came out of that, that is irreversible. I think one such thing probably is what we call as the digital economy. That is something irreversible. So, so even today when we have this conference, there are requests coming that we want to make online presentation, we don't want to come. So people think that, okay, there is now this world. It could be in banking, it could be in education, everywhere. I think there is a irreversible trend that has happened in the digital world, and similarly in many other sectors. I observed a couple of things in the last 2 years when I became part of a new university. We admitted the first batch of students for Chanakya University in 22-23 to an undergraduate program. We had about 100 students. And we did a small survey of these 100 students, and we found that practically none of them, about 98 out of the 100, had not attended classes at their +2 level for 2 years. That means they have straight come to the university without sitting in a classroom for 2 years. And we found it extremely difficult to really make them sit in the classroom, right? And we have a dean of our School of Arts and Humanities who happens to be a professor of psychology, and he started interacting with the students to find out, in what way the thinking of this generation has become different compared to maybe thinking of the generation of students who were there just 2 years ago. And there seemed to be tremendous difference. In 2020, when the pandemic broke out, immediately after my tenure in University of Mysore, I started teaching in a Japanese university, Ritsumeikan University in Kyoto. I had a fairly long experience of being in Japan at different times, and I had found them to be very methodical making decisions with long deliberations and really planning everything. But the way entire Japan was in a state of confusion in 2020, I thought that, okay, there is some force which can shake anything. So the magnitude with which it happened was unthinkable, and therefore the impact of that is also, I think, extremely difficult to gauge and measure and predict. But there are a few lessons I think all of us have learned. We need to really think more seriously about the limits of our knowledge. Science was under pressure, science was challenged, policies were challenged. Health, I think the entire health policy got challenged, and therefore it opened up a lot of possibilities of new thinking. So I would say it's a juncture in our life where I think lot more new possibilities have been thought about, much more than what probably the world wars did. And therefore, while we start capturing the impact, while we start looking at the way in which it affected the world, we need to also, I think, start thinking more and more about the innovations that are possible, innovations that are needed to make human life better. So I would look at pandemic as a great opportunity being opened for all of us to be, to start thinking innovatively in order to make human life much better. And that is the lead for all of us to take. And there are papers here which I saw which are in that direction. There are a few papers related to health which I was looking at. How the entire idea of human health need to be relooked. The infrastructure and the institutional setup for health needs to be relooked. So which I think a great opportunity for us. So similarly, I think there are opportunities in so many other areas for us to look about, and I'm very happy that this conference is trying to put together all of them. Each of the section here, I felt, is something that can be developed into a few long-term research projects. I see 2-3 papers written by 2-3 people from different areas, but it looks that all of them are thinking in the same direction. So the networking here should open up a possibility for them to come together and maybe put up some real serious research work on a long-term basis, so that there would be substantial academic contribution in all these fields. I hope the conference facilitates that, and as Professor Mallikarjunappa rightly said, we need to really use this opportunity by sitting through these sessions and trying to understand the kind of work that is going on, and the preparatory stage for that would be anyway set by Professor Narasimhan. Therefore, I don't go into the greater details. Once again, I thank Nitte University for giving me this opportunity, and I'm very happy to declare the conference open, and I wish the 8th Nitte International Conference all success. Thank you very much.
Pronouns to you, sir. We have among us an erudite scholar, academician par excellence, Dr. Narasimhan Srinivasan, Associate Professor, University of Connecticut, USA. He is a true luminary in the field of survey research, consumer research, cross-cultural research, and global or international issues. With over 30 plus years of experience, he has been honored with various awards and also published various articles and research papers. We cordially invite you to deliver the keynote address. Sir, please.
That's perfectly fine. How do I now log on? to set up my file, let me first thank Nitte for this opportunity. I'd like to thank all the dignitaries, the vice chancellors, the directors and the deans. Let me take a moment. Since I've been here from the first international conference when Dr. Nitte was the director, I think I've been to almost all of them. The last one was in 2018, and the younger crowd will not know the person I'm talking about, but Mr. Naveen Chandra Tinkalaya was very much a part of Nitte. He has been a mentor, a guide, and a friend. He passed. So let me observe a moment of silence on his behalf as a sign of respect, because Nitte still continues to have such values. Thank you. As they're setting it up, I guess I can talk to everybody in this room. Oh, seaport is not connected. All right. This is symptomatic of what happens when you do anything online. You put a teacher in front and you have students at the back. It's a joy. My grandfathers were teachers, my father's a teacher, I'm a teacher, my daughter's going to be one. So welcome to all the students. Dr. Dongre already summarized a lot of what I was going to say, but I'm going to give you some details. He talked about luck. Let me emphasize that, because we don't realize how lucky we are just to be alive. Not just through COVID. My wife is a Yale-trained physician. My daughter is at Harvard Med School as a resident, so I do know a little bit about what goes on in the healthcare field. And life is very precious. Let's do what best we can, particularly for others, when we have an opportunity. My own association with Nitte is because of the relationship built with Dr. Nitte. He has been extremely kind, gracious as a person, and that's why I keep coming back. So make friends, be genuine, help each other, because we don't control everything that happens, but we do control what we do, and that would be good. The COVID that we're going to talk about is a worldwide phenomena. It's a pandemic which, oh, is that a change or? Okay. Are we talking now or? You can see from here. Okay. I think they have fixed the technical problem. And so welcome to this talk about navigating the post-pandemic resurgence. And as Dr. Dongre said, we really don't know whether we are in a post-pandemic. It has become endemic. So let us see what it is. I'm going to give my talk addressing 5 issues, because if we go beyond that, it's hard to remember. it is going to be within something that you can compute, then it is easy. I'm going to talk first about the very broad impact of the pandemic worldwide, and then I'm going to talk about the adaptation and the transformation. Thirdly, the socioeconomic recovery and sustainable development. Fourth one is building resilient systems, and the last one is collaborative solutions and social transformations. So on the next slides, I will be I'm going to be doing the headline. Okay. And yeah, let me talk about COVID first. This one is, okay, thank you. I'm getting educated in using this. Teachers always learn. All right. The last worldwide pandemic was known as the Spanish flu. It had nothing to do with Spain. We'll talk about misinformation and disinformation later. But a lot of people died worldwide. And the way we handled that was to let society get the herd immunity and then to isolate. This current one, the origins of which we still don't know fully. We know that it started in China, and I go and teach in summers in China, but it's very hard to get information that is true. This particular pandemic started as a health issue, but has become an economic shock and massive. Most households, I'm talking about middle-class households, and businesses, particularly small businesses, cannot sustain for more than 3 months. And this was not going to go away. So governments had to step in to provide subsidies. But then the richer countries were able to provide more subsidies than the poorer countries. So when the poorer countries started spending money, which they did not have, the government debt increased. The advanced economies were able to spend about 20% of their GDP in stimulus money. Anybody below a certain number got a check sent from the government in the US. And 20% of the world's largest GDP is a huge amount of money. The emerging markets, such as Bharat, is about 5%. And the low-income countries, particularly the African nations, could manage only a meager 2%. Because globalization was so successful and turbocharged by the supply chains, everybody wanted just in time. This was not going to work when there's a big disruption. So supply chains got disrupted massively. China, which had become the manufacturing center of the world, ships were all waiting outside LA, and we could not offload it. And it also became a political problem where the then president imposed tariffs. So we don't have global threats such as we used to have before, but what we are doing now is to developing vaccines. We have efficient monitoring systems where there is resources, and we are still trying to understand the epidemiology of the virus because it's become endemic. Kerala, it is all going up. I'm hearing from my spouse. She's in Bangalore. She is from Bangalore. So I can say Gotu and all that a little bit when she's asking me whether I like something. So we are now taking a completely different approach compared to the 1918 pandemic. At that time it was hygiene and sanitation. Now it is still hygiene, because wearing the face mask is not for me not to get it from others, because by the time I realize I have it, I probably have already spread it. So when I wear a mask, I'm actually preventing myself spreading the virus to other people, and it is protecting the others from getting infected, because at the beginning you're not going to know what it is. The way we are dealing with the COVID virus now is lockdowns, physical distancing, travel restrictions. Of course, tourism went out the window, and anything that is disruptive to the economy is happening. When there's a total shutdown of the social and economic activity, it makes us behave very differently. Also, because of the digital economy, the global connectivity worsened the shrinkage. Everybody is connected to everybody else. And when there's a lockdown, the people who have the wealth and privilege can manage better. But what happens to people who do not have the resources? We might assume Wi-Fi to be available to everybody, but it truly isn't. I'm fortunate, I'm lucky that I have had some education, that I can afford to do a few things, but it's also responsible on my part to recognize that not everybody in the world has access to these things. A large part of the US economy is the service economy, and restaurants, tourism, manual labor, everything went out the window, and they're the ones who are very badly hit because these things cannot be converted online. If I take a worldwide perspective, the healthcare systems, if they exist, are neither adequate nor equitable. And I'm talking about worldwide because the healthcare system in UK is under tremendous stress. The healthcare system in the US, which was much better before, is now having restrictions. And where the governments do not have restrictions, it is even worse. Early in 2020, the United Nations General Secretary identified the threats to progress as the 4 horsemen. For the students, if you want to develop any of these things further, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to chat with you. So the 4 horsemen are the surging geopolitical tensions, which we still have, and it has gotten worse with what is happening in Ukraine and also Gaza. So when wars start, we tend to forget the other things. The climate crisis, I'm going to say a little bit more about that. There is a global mistrust in institutions on whether the people are being served well. Because governments, if they are democratic, are meant to service the people well, but lately, at least across Europe and in South America, it is the right wing which is coming into power. And lastly, there is a lot of downsides to technology. So the references are all given over there so that you can go back and read that if you want. Even in advanced economies like the US, tremendous hardship was felt by households, particularly in the lower categories, to employment, food, housing, and household expenses. So the government steps in to increase the unemployment. So if I go out of a job, I can apply for unemployment and do quite well. And the government provides cash benefits for buying food. The government subsidizes people's living costs, so I can get a place to live. But all of this can only happen in economies which have the resources. Let me give you 3 graphs to show you the global impact. What COVID has done, because whenever there is a crisis and we respond with resilience and adaptability, lots of things change which will not come back. So the average share of customer interactions, you can see between the dark ones on the right and the one next to it, there's a tremendous difference. Globally, in the Asia Pacific, it is a little less, Europe about the same. In North America, it's higher, of course, because of the availability of resources. The second graph, which I would like to use, which is a McKinsey, is the average share of products that are partially or fully digitized. Once again, on the global scale, it's gone from 36 to 58. 35 to 55. The Asia Pacific is 33 to 54, which is very comparable. The Europeans went from 34 to 50, but North Americans went from 40 to 60. Once again, you can see the impact of the resource availability. The last one I'm going to demonstrate, showing COVID's impact across the world. What is it that got affected the most? How did we change so quickly? Because we had to. There was no planning, there was no sitting down, discussing anything. We just had to respond. I remember spring break of 2020. Students were told to go home. Spring break is a great time in the middle of the spring semester. That's March. And they never came back. So everything got converted online. Luckily, being a senior member of the faculty, I had already designed my MBA core course online pre-COVID. So it was not that difficult for me because I've lived through these technology changes. But when you were asking people what is it that happened, the number one is the increase in remote working and collaboration. It really shot up. That's the number one factor over there, the acceleration factor. So whereas in the other changes you saw that it was accelerated by about 3 to 5 years, in this one you can see that it's mostly going online. And that's not going to change. And that's going to have both a positive impact and a negative impact. And I'm going to show you that shortly. So what we are talking about now is the third factor, the socioeconomic recovery. There's a lot of misinformation which is happening in the cloud. Anybody can post any message on YouTube or whatever else it is, and who is to verify that? There is absolutely no filter. And as an academic, I worry about having no filters because what is also happening is if you start showing interest in a particular topic or a particular slant in the news, you are going to be curated and similar items are going to be suggested for you. And after some time, you're going to be living in a virtual world which is cocoon. You are not going to expose yourself to seeking what is outside. As academics, we are always thinking about there should be another angle to it. What if this is not true? What is an alternative explanation? So we are looking at not the people making any points, but why are they saying what they are saying, and can that be true? So we are examining things critically, and as students, you are being taught in the classroom to examine things critically. Do not take anything that anybody says is happening. Verify it. You want the reason, you want the sources, I'll give it to you. So, and particularly because COVID started in China, and there was one guy who really put it on the public media, now it's no longer available, of course, that is disinformation. So they will suppress the information. They will not let the true facts come out. Misinformation, anybody can do, sometimes wittingly, sometimes unwittingly. You hear about a story, forward, right? Look at how much time you and I are wasting in WhatsApp by just forwarded messages. I really don't know. And sometimes the same message is coming from different groups that you and I are with. I don't even look at my WhatsApp until the end of the day. It's a waste of time. Because if something is really that important, I will know. People are important to me. They can send me a message in my email that I can check wherever I am, but I'm not addicted to a phone, and that is really not okay. What has also happened is the havoc that it has caused in the socioeconomic recovery. Unemployment went way up right away. And the consumer price index also rose. But then, after all the subsidies and the reactions to that, particularly by the governments, then it came back down. The transformation to the digital economy, as Dr. Dongre was mentioning, accelerated, and it's not going to go away. remote working. You have students who have never been in a classroom for 2 years. Every study that I've been exposed to says their thinking capacity has actually gone down. Even in schools, even where we are doing online, the students are not getting better prepared. And the world has to pay a price for that. Universities shut down. Now, universities make money. It is also a business, by the way, by your tuition, by your housing costs, by all the other things that we sell because of that. Telemedicine, telehealth has picked up. And because it has been shown to have cost savings, which I'm going to share in the second to last slide, that is here to stay. And I'll also talk a little bit about AI, the delivery services. But if I can talk in general, the inequality between and within countries has grown. And it's worse in countries without a social security protection, such as in China and in Bharat. It is worse in situations where there's no robust public health systems. How many of us go to a government hospital if we are sick? We want to go to a private hospital because we have insurance. And we are also dealing with other things that are happening simultaneously, such as low carbon infrastructure, which we cannot afford, and quality jobs. I'm calling it Bharat because at the G20 in Delhi, the Prime Minister sat behind Bharat. India is a term that was coined to cover a larger area. So the government package cannot and could not sufficiently address the needs of migrant workers. In every state that I'm aware of, and I have friends in almost all the states because I happen to be graduated from a class which had a lot of distinctive people. Mr. Ajay Banga from World Bank is my classmate, for instance. Arvind Subramaniam, the economic advisor, is my classmate. So yeah, there is a different Bharat. So what happens to the migrant workers who had to go back home? And many of them are working in the informal economy. So if I'm in a low-paid job, my choice is risking my health or losing my income. What do I choose? If I don't go to work, I don't have money. If I don't have money, my family suffers. So in a way, we are in double jeopardy. So when countries start increasing their fiscal deficits and government debt ratios go up, then what happens is their ratings go down. It'll be more expensive to borrow money. And that is something that you cannot control. We saw that the global poverty rates went up by about 1 percentage point just between 2019 and 2020. And of course, as you can expect, the low-income countries went up a lot more. The less developed countries have only about 1.4% of the global population, but account for 50% of the world's extremely poor, and only 1.3% of the global GDP. Now, this is a side that you and I don't get exposed to. Yeah, when I go out, there are people working the garden, but I really don't know that much about that. So when we are talking about LDCs, that is something that we in the developed world particularly have to pay attention to. The LDCs contribute the least to climate change but suffer the most from the impact. So to be poor anywhere in the world is a big disease. To get out of that is hard. I'm lucky to have education. And it is not easy for a lot of people. What the pandemic has also done is intensified and widened the large inequities across countries in terms of their access to vaccines, medicines, healthcare, and finance. And it actually gets worse because public healthcare systems are in focus now, They need strengthening, but where is the resource going to come from? And what happens to the huge service backlogs? Yes, it's nice to be seen wearing a mask, but what about diagnostics? A lot of people might have had COVID without even knowing that they have had COVID. I've lost friends in their 30s due to COVID. And I have friends in their 80s who survived COVID. So when I'm talking about how lucky we are, it is just the difference there. But what we can do, diagnostics, yes, I'm carrying a COVID test kit myself, just in case. If I show symptoms, I need to protect myself and I should not be going out and infecting other people. So it is not just for me to be away from others, but for others to be kept away from me until I'm no longer going to be infected. So the therapeutics and the workforce issues are all coming up. Telehealth is here to stay, particularly given AI. The next time you may not need to go and see a doctor. I don't know why we have so many medical schools. AI can do a good job of diagnosing you and telling you what to do, and it's cheaper, and it can be done remotely. We heard about something called CRISPR. In fact, the lady who won the Nobel Prize for this work could not get an extension at UPenn because the funding ran out and she was shifted away into an office somewhere else, and poor lady went back to Europe, and then she wins the Nobel Prize. This is what academics also do. They start taking interest in something which nobody in the world cares about until the right time comes. And then all of a sudden, they are going to get recognized. So CRISPR is short for clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. You don't need to know that CRISPR is fine. Genetic sequencing has really gotten attention. Immunotherapies, taking our own blood and then putting it back, those kinds of things. And one of the things that we have started talking about that we don't recognize is the concurrent endemic of mental health. And the Surgeon General of the United States, Dr. Murthy, is from Karnataka. He talks about it because he went through it. And he's also from Yale, which is Connecticut. So, and he talks about it. We don't address mental health very well in most parts of the world. At least in India, everybody talks to you. Your neighbor knows everything that's happening to you. And even if you go out on the street, somebody is going to be talking to you. But in the West, we don't talk to each other. We're all very quiet. So who lives next door? If I don't want to be their friend, that's perfectly fine. Not that I don't like them, but I leave them alone, they leave me alone. So mental health means you're dealing with oneself. From my upbringing, I spent the first 20 years in India, and then I went and I've been 40 years abroad. We live in the world we create inside our own heads. So if we can spend some time meditating, taking care of our own health, it will help a lot of other people. And we've started doing that a lot more. Let me come to the item number 4 of resilient systems, because I'm in a school of management. The performance management is changing. The chief information officers said in a survey which was done at MIT that the hardest issue is getting employees to effectively communicate with each other. We all talk a lot, but are we effectively communicating? The core. Like when you have group meetings, even in your MBA program, maybe half the time you're talking about something else, not just the case that you're going to be analyzing. So what is effective communication? We are all getting digitally monitored. Right now I had a little bit of a problem because I was using the VPN from my university, and that VPN was preventing this Wi-Fi from connecting, and this Wi-Fi does not want an outside VPN. So yesterday I overcame the problem by hotspotting my phone. Everything was working fine. And even now I could have done that, but younger people have more technical capacity, so I tried to see whether that can be improved. What are the real-time tracking platforms? Because the improved dashboards with the key performance indicators is the response that we have to remote working. When somebody is working, how do I know whether they're really working or just logged on and then go off? In my own teaching experience, students are a handful of students are usually logged on after the class is over. And those are the ones I know never paid attention, or they just turned their machine on, logged into it, and then they went around doing something else. So it is not that we are not aware that these things are going to happen. Every time now you visit a website, there's a chat box, there's an automated follow-up, even in my Gmail, because everything is getting monitored. Or you asked this question 4 days ago, do you want to send them a reminder? Sure, why not? So the response time is much faster than it used to be, and the customer satisfaction KPIs are getting very important and also very necessary. The shareholder-centric model is what we have been taught, that we have to do the best for the shareholders. But when the company has to shut down and we cannot make any money, then who cares? Everybody loses. So we have to have a richer model of corporate governance that impacts the health and the resilience and the well-being of the firm itself. I can only make money if I have customers who are happy with my product and I can deliver that. So even though COVID started as a public health crisis, it has become a financial and economic crisis of epic proportion, and firms cannot easily disconnect themselves from society at large. Also, governments alone cannot solve societal problems anywhere in the world. We need to have, as a company, an expanded view of our well-being, which includes the societal forces of sustainability, corporate responsibility engagement, and environmental and social governance, ESG. So the foundations of future growth are often laid as society's response to the weaknesses that crises expose. So in a way, it's an opportunity. And history shows that in times of disruption, resilience depends on adaptability and decisiveness. And it's not a light switch to get to an endemic phase, because it is the behavior and the psychology that we all exhibit, as it is about the epidemiology of the virus itself, which is what you were talking about, because the psychology itself changes. And I can talk a lot about artificial intelligence, but I'll keep it going. I've been given a reminder. Artificial intelligence requires a lot of data to be trained, and that data has copyrights. New York Times is now suing ChatGPT for using old articles without their permission. And we need to be mindful of the limitations of AI. So here is what we have seen as the benefits of collaborative solutions. It reduces cost, which all of us like. Travel, video chats, conferencing, greater agility. We can set up meetings in real time very quickly. Powerful collaborations, improved productivity and innovation, better customer engagement, and workplace flexibility. The last thing is, one of the things we should learn from the failures is the richer countries hoarded vaccines and let them expire. Many in the poorer countries waited for their first dose. I already got 4 doses. I got one in December, earlier this month, because I'm going through so many airports and I do not want to be exposed. And what happens to the poorer countries who are just waiting for just herd immunity to build up? So hopefully this failure of global cooperation will change. And the World Trade Organizations, ironically, which deals with the intellectual property rights about vaccines, they have no health or human rights mandate, because the economy takes priority over health, environmental, and societal well-being, and that's not going to be good for the world. So to conclude, I've identified some winners and some losers. There's a 5-fold increase globally in work from home, and that is not going to reverse. Employees want to stay home or have a hybrid option. In fact, employees are willing to give up 8% of their salary if they can work from home, so that there's no boss around. They can take care of their children. They can wait for people to come and do some work. There's reduced pollution, which we don't recognize, because most of us, while we are trying to get to work, we are polluting. monitoring wastewater for viral spread is going to stay. And the new future is going to be the holographic meetings, wall-sized screens, and global connectivity. Who are the losers? City center offices, retail property owners, because the donut effect, nobody comes to work, they're all in the suburbs, and that is going to happen all over the world. And mass transit rail systems lost a lot of money because people are no longer commuting. So let me stop here. I hope I have not exceeded the time that you've given me. And I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody in this room later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We have with us our very own Professor Dr. M.S. Muditaya, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Nitte deemed to be University, and the Founder Director of Justice JKSHIM Institute of Management as an esteemed chief guest. He is a source of inspiration to all of us, showcasing remarkable qualities of head and heart.
A very good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. The president of today's inaugural session and the director of the institute, Dr. Gururaj, the inaugurator of this international conference, and my guru, Dr. Yashwant Dongre, my good friend who has come all the way from Connecticut on our request to be part of this conference and deliver the keynote address, Professor Srinivasan, Professor Mugiraya, Dr. Mallikarjunappa, Professor Sudhir, and I find amongst the audience many of our invitees and colleagues, Professor Michael Oyenuga, who has come from Nigeria, and Dr. Niranjan, I think he has just left, and Professor Yogesh Hegde, our Dr. N.S. Shetty, Professor Praveen Kumar, the Director R&D of our university, Professor Syed, Professor Prasanna Kailaje, who is our Alumni Relations Director, and many other important people who are here, Mr. Sandeep Naik from MRPL, and we have with us Mr. Ravichandran from Karnataka Bank, who are our partners, and all the delegates coming from different parts of the country and outside the country even, the young student friends and my learned colleagues. I'm here with a sense of duty as the Vice Chancellor of the university. I'm here to congratulate Justice JKSHIM Institute of Management on completing a very important milestone, that is, this is the Silver Jubilee year, and I understand this is the last program as a part of the Silver Jubilee celebrations. I'm very proud that over the years, Justice JKSHIM Institute of Management, by its immense contribution to the field of academia, has made all at Nitte University very, very proud. Congratulations to you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to dwell on the subject because a very erudite presentation has been made by Professor, our good friend Narasimhan Srinivasan, and even in his, Dr. Dongre, in his inaugural address has also mentioned about how the world has been thrown into so many problems because of the pandemic, and how slowly we are, slowly but steadily, we are recovering. Even if you see the latest IMF report, April 2023, you find that the report says that possibly the global GDP might slip to 2.4%, recede to 2.4% this year, when compared to 3.4% last year, but for sure in 2024 it is going to be around 3%. But the silver lining as far as India is concerned, India is really doing well, and you read any report for that matter, any study for that matter, it is being said that our growth rate is going to be anywhere between 6.5% and 7%, and we all should be proud that this is the highest GDP growth rate in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I speak with a sense of responsibility from the university, and I have to thank many people. Of course, I am really grateful to Professor Srinivasan for remembering our Dr. N.K. Tingalaya, who is no more with us. He has made immense contribution to the growth of this institution over the years. Ladies and gentlemen, even the friends who are on the dais today, I remember, if there is one person who has attended all the international conferences organized by Justice KSHIM Institute of Management, he is our keynote speaker, Professor Srinivasan. Thank you for that. And Dr. Dongre, in all our endeavors, as far as taking the institute to another level, I must tell you, how can I forget that in the year 1998 was the year we started our institute with a mere 35 students. In that year itself, he gave us an opportunity for internationalization. One day he calls me and says, I'm coming with the 20 students from Japan with the professor, okay? And I want to spend a day in your institute, what we can do. We worked out a plan, and I'm really grateful to him. But the most important, 1998 it started. But then the assistant professor who came with him in 1998, he becomes Professor Kawaguchi. He becomes the president of Ritsumeikan University. And when I read the news, I asked Dr. Dongre, now can you help me? Now he has become the president, and Nitte must tie up with Ritsumeikan University. And for the second Nitte International Conference, Professor Kawaguchi came here thanks to Professor Dongre's intervention. He came here, he inaugurated. Not only that, he came with 6 of his colleagues, and then I must tell you, sir, Nitte has tied up with nearly 54 universities today. My director, Samar, is here. 54 universities, very successful, the collaborations. It could be the student exchanges, faculty exchanges, with some university twinning programs, collaborative research, and I'm very proud that Ritsumeikan University's tie-up, one of the strongest in Sakura Science program. I understand my engineering colleagues would vouch for that. At least 15, 20 students come here every year, and our students go there. Even in Nitte University campus, the medical students, the dental students are also going there, and the exchanges are taking place, and this is one of the strong associations. Shortly, we are going to start a twinning program with Ritsumeikan University. So, right from, whether it is the academic input, even now in this conference, you will find when I just suggested to Dr. Gurraj, Dr. Dongre immediately said, yes, we would be part of the conference. We would be, rather you can organize this conference in association with us. And we have Rotterdam School of Management. Unfortunately, Professor Lucas could not make it, otherwise he would have been here. And then University of Pennsylvania, I understand they're late, they are coming after 2 days. They are also worried little about the spread of the virus and things like that, the latest developments. Then the University of Connecticut, I had the pleasure of being with the Professor Srinivasan in his institute, addressing his students and so on. So they are also with us, and Chanakya University, I'm very happy that they are part of this event. What I want to emphasize today is that in the kind of world we are living in today, there is a need for connecting with each other, collaborating, especially for academics. This is missing. In academics, at least in academics, there is nothing like competition. There is no competition in academics between institutions. We collaborate to improve our competitiveness. That's all. We collaborate to improve our competitiveness. We must believe that all of us, all the teachers, all the administrators, we are all committed to our students. Our aim is to ensure that we design and deliver a student-centric academic delivery processes we establish. And therefore, in order to ensure that the students' experience becomes, they are not just satisfied but delighted. There is a need for ensuring that jnana should come from everywhere. Every now and then, we should have jnana yajnas of this nature, and many Ritvijas from different parts of the world should come together. They should share their ideas, and that's the only way India's growth story can be really made realistic. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, the university, which among the 1,100 universities of the country today, Nitte University is in the 65th position. We must thank our Chancellor, who is very, very visionary, and the Chancellor wants it to be among the top 50. This journey is not going to be that easy. I'm telling all my colleagues that, it is almost like trying to go up in an escalator which is coming down. If you just stand, you would fall. If you just walk, you may remain where you are. You need to double up. You need to double up in terms of your reach to pushing the horizon of the knowledge, in your reach to the centers of excellence outside the country, within the country, everywhere. Try to give a different experience to the students. This is a journey. And again, I wish to congratulate Justice K. Sigde Institute of Management. You have been the torchbearers in this regard. You have been making us very, very proud. And we are also now, even our medical college is also celebrating the my good friend, he's so close to me, sometimes I forget his name. Dr. Giridhar is also here. He's come from our medical college. They are also celebrating the Silver Jubilee year. And in this year, our endeavor is to ensure that best of the brains share their ideas and interact with our students. And we are in a position to move forward in creating a conducive environment for our students, and in ensuring that all our students, the number has now become almost 25,000. As I sit here, as I am participating in this conference, I just got the news that our application for bringing all the institutions in the Bangalore campus is also now accepted, and with that, even the Bangalore campus next year is going to be part of the Nitte University. With that, Nitte, 3 campuses starting from Nitte, because many people don't know that they ask us what is the full form of Nitte. All right? Now, Nitte, which was a very, very local brand, today has become a global brand, because our Chancellor always believes in a global vision and a local focus. And I'm sure with the Bangalore campus becoming part of the Nitte University, you will get more strength, and in the days to come, every institute will create such opportunities for all the scholars to come together and think of the next generation. All of them will certainly make us very proud. And our only intention is to ensure that as we move forward, when we look back on the path trodden by us over the years, we should feel proud, and Nitte should become a center of excellence that attracts scholars from not only different parts of the country, but even different parts of the world. With that little thought of mine, ladies and gentlemen, I wish this conference all the very best, and all of you a good stay here.
Pranams to you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us an internationally acclaimed academician and a researcher. He is our friend, philosopher, and a guide. He is none other than Professor Dr. Gopala Mugeraya, our guest of honor, and he is also the Vice President, Technical Education, Nitte deemed to be University. Also, recently, he has been appointed as the Vice Chairperson of the Goa State Higher Education Council. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar, friends, dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, participants, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to each one of you. At the outset, let me welcome each one of you on behalf of Nitte Education Trust and the President, Dr. Vinay Hegde. It's a great honor to have all of you here. Friends, COVID pandemic has put the entire humanity into severe jolt. We are physically, economically, mentally, emotionally, we are isolated. But in engineering sense, there's a saying that disruption is inevitable, and it is required for a growth of the nation. And we, the most adaptable creatures in this world is human being. We adopted very fast, and we got into the groove very fast. And we made COVID pandemic as a blessing in disguise. Many of the professors who are plus 60 were not knowing about what is online education, and they were forced to do it, and they were very successful. That exactly the blessings. In fact, I would like to mention a point that I was the director of Nitte Goa, where we are building a huge campus of 400 crores in 125 acres. Midst of that, the COVID had attacked, and the CM told that you have to completely isolate. Unfortunately, I lost two of my direct brothers, and I was a COVID patient. My family said, don't go. But I said that two things will happen in life only once. One is birth and death. So I went forward, and we could complete the project. It's one of the best projects in South India now. We got the award from the Government of India. My point of reference is that unless there's a saying in engineering that only the compressed air will work. So the people have to be compressed, then they'll work. Other example, I'm a local person. I would like to mention that I have a farm. Previously, it was very difficult to get the laborers. Now, there's a migration of youth to Mumbai. Now there's a reverse migration. They said, we want to be alive first. So they came and started a group called Self-Help Group, and they come and work, and they are very happy. Second thing is, you'll find in the undivided district of Mangalore and Udupi, we have 138 temples. You'll be surprised to know the total contribution from the Mumbai is about 550 crores per year. Unfortunately, for the last 2 years, because of COVID, that has stopped. Now, once that money comes, it will be distributed to different ventures in the youth, overall development of village. So I would say that the COVID, in one sense, it has become blessing, sometimes it is a curse, but we have to take both together. I'm very happy that Dr. Gururaj has taken this topic as a topic of eminence for this discussion, and we together should work on this and make it as a blessing for us. I thank Gururaj for giving me an opportunity to be part of this function. I'm honored. Thank you very much. Good, namaskar and Jai Hind.
Pranams to you, sir. We cordially invite our esteemed director, Professor Dr. Gururaj H. Kidiyu, to deliver the presidential address. Sir, please.
Respected Chief Guest for the event, Dr. Ashwin Dongre, Keynote Speaker, Dr. Narasimhan, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Nitte deemed to be University, Dr. M.S. Muditaya, Dr. Gopal Mugeraya, Vice President, Technical Education, Nitte deemed to be University, Deans and Directors from our sister institutions, Professor Yogesh Hegde, Dr. Chiplunkar, Dr. Veena, Dr. N.S. Shetty, invited guests, Sri Sandeep Nayak, Sri Ravichandran, Sri Giridhar VH, Dr. Michael, Dr. Nandan Prabhu, delegates of the research conference, research scholars, my faculty colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a very warm welcome to you all. This conference is very, very special to us because it is happening after a gap of international conference, after a gap of 5 years. I believe 2018 was the last conference. The institute had a tradition of conducting an international conference every 2 years. So 2020 was the scheduled year for the conference. Unfortunately, we all know what happened during February and March. So the COVID hit us, and after that, we have not had an international conference. So needless to say, we are absolutely delighted to revive this great tradition, I think, which was put up by started by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Muditaya. Many aspects have changed due to COVID, whether it is business, academics, technology, geopolitics, economy. So this conference obviously aims to provide a platform for discussion on crucial matters concerning challenges that we faced and how we handle those challenges. But we found that the COVID has impacted the research conference ecosystem as well. Probably, you can see how it is impacting us now. In the last 10-15 days, there has been a surge of COVID cases in India. And of course, we have been impacted. Our conference has been impacted due to that. Many of the delegates Immediately after that, in the last 10 days, I have requested that whether their presentation can be done online because of this COVID again. So probably the COVID did not like the title, which is post-pandemic. So it is telling us, hey, listen, I'm still there. So there are so many challenges we faced while conducting this, hosting this conference. We found that, okay, in the last 5-6 years, it so happened that there are too many conferences happening. There is a great competition to secure good papers. Of course, there are many people who would like to present papers in conferences. That's because of change in the higher education ecosystem as well. Many institutions of higher education now mandate that their faculty have this conference paper presentations for promotion or as a requirement for their PhD work and so forth. But in the bargain, it is unfortunate that the quality seems to be deteriorating. So we received more than 100 papers, and our team went through that, and we have shortlisted 62. So rejection rate of 40% is something which worried me at least. The second one was this increased request for virtual participation. See, we wanted this event where everyone would come here, right, be physically present and experience Nitte. But there are increased number of requests for virtual participation. But I guess that a research conference is not just about coming and, talking about the work you have been doing. It is a great opportunity to network with others. It is also a great opportunity to find new domains where research is gaining traction. It is a great opportunity to identify partners for collaborative research. And probably this virtual participation is something that doesn't meet these objectives. International conferences of this scale also demand a lot of resources, and we were very fortunate that our Chancellor, Sri Vinay Hegde, Pro-Chancellor, Sri Vishal Hegde, and our Vice-Chancellor, Dr. Muditaya, and our Vice President, Dr. Gopal Mugiraya, have been very, very encouraging right from the beginning, and they have spared no efforts to provide us with all the resources that were required for this conference. But I guess it is also important that the external stakeholders participate in such events. Research conferences are knowledge creating exercises, sharing of knowledge creating endeavors, and I believe that the knowledge that is created through research actually improves the quality of life for everyone. Today, if we live a better life, it is fundamentally because of what has happened in the world of research and development. Right, and I believe that the bottom line is that we were expecting more participation from the industry. It has happened, and we are thankful to them. But probably going forward, maybe we could have had more. But there are some good trends also that we noticed. One is that many institutions of higher education have now started benchmarking against global institutions. They're talking about, where we would be in QS ranking, where we would be in terms of our accreditations, what are the global accreditations that we should seek for, right? Whether it is a WACSB in the context of management or AMBA or something, right? So that I think is something which will improve the processes, their internal processes, and one among them happens to be a quality of research. I have also noticed that in the last 5-6 years, the governance model in higher education has changed with increased importance on research and innovation, right? More emphasis on filing copyrights and patents. Even more important is incentivization of research. I think our own university, Nitte University, I think has created a great ecosystem for conducting quality research. Researchers also are now looking forward for networking. They know that, it's very, very important to network where pooled expertises come together and produce quality work. I see this is a good development. I'm speaking for India. My exposure mainly has been in the Indian context. Another good development is industry interface. While educational institutions have always been very, very active in seeking partnerships with industry, I think now I see a lot of companies also wanting to have a formal campus engagement plans and programs. So we see that more MOUs being signed, which means more collaborative work, right, updation of curriculum, and inputs from the industry on various matters, faculty spending time in the industry as internships, right. So there are great opportunities here. All these seem to be working for us. Recently, I read somewhere that why I say it's working for us is that India ranks third among research publications in the world today after China and USA. And this is in international journals, right? But yes, we are ranked 3, but the gap is still huge. I guess in India we have enough talent, and I'm sure we will catch up with the best, no doubt about it. Conferences such as this go a long way in bridging this gap. So I wish all the delegates a wonderful time during these 2 days. And somebody said that Nitte is a village, right? But let me tell you, it's a wonderful, beautiful village. So you go out there, you will not see anything but greenery, and you will not scent anything here other than academics. And what more can one researcher ask for, right? So I'm sure you will get to interact with fellow researchers, you will get to interact with some experts. We have also organized some technical sessions for you from the best in business. So I'm sure each one of you will have a lot of takeaways and go back really charged up to take your research to the next level. Thank you very much and best of luck.
Thank you, sir. To express our immense gratitude, we humbly present the memento as a symbol of our profound respect and appreciation. I now request Dr. Gururaj H. Kidiyur, Director JKSHIM, to hand over the memento to our esteemed guest. To Dr. Yashwanta
but to live by them. I request Professor and Organizing Secretary Dr. Sudhir M. to deliver the note of gratitude. Sir.
Dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. Getting 110 papers from 12 states and then zeroing down to 78 papers in the final selection and having 64 papers being presented in the 15 technical sessions that we are having in the next 2 days is a real post-pandemic resurgence of the international conference at Nitte. And for the revival that we are seeing today in the conference, there are many people who owe a debt of gratitude. And with the given limited time, I may not be in a position to express our true feelings, but with these words, I'll try to bundle it down to a few words. First of all, our word of gratitude goes to our management, a visionary team led by Mr. Vinay Hegde, and to all our co-partners, collaborating university institutes, the 4 institutes that we have, Rotterdam School of Management, University of Pennsylvania, University of Connecticut, and Chanakya University for supporting us in executing this program. So we remain grateful to these universities. We also thank Dr. Yashwanta Dongre for the continued association and the support that he has always extended to us. So thank you very much. Professor Narasimhan Srinivasan has been a true friend of Nitte, has been a part of all the international conference, and his support, his involvement, and his participation is a true inspiration for all of us. So thank you for joining us. I would also like to thank, on behalf of the Institute, Professor Dr. Muritaya, MS Muritaya, for all the guidance and for all the motivation that he has extended to us ever since the beginning and even in executing this conference. So thank you very much. We also remain grateful to Dr. Gopal Mugaraya, Vice President Technical Education, for for all the encouragement that he has given to us and for gracing this occasion. So thank you again. Professor Gururaj Kidyur has been a constant source of support, guidance, and motivation in all our activities here at the Institute. So for presiding over today's function and for all the support that you've extended to us, the entire organizing team will remain grateful to you, sir. This conference will not be possible without the participation of all the research scholars who have come from 5 different states today. There are quite a few people who are joining us live on the YouTube channel. For all your hard work and which will be culminated in the paper presentation today, we thank you for joining us and we hope you'll have a great day ahead. Thank you. We also would like to thank all the heads of the institutions, the invitees from the JKSHIM, from Karnataka Bank, from our partners, and all the expert speakers who will be a part of this two-day deliberation, and all the session chairs who will be making this event more meaningful. Thank you very much. And this program is actually the result of the hard work of many people, the contribution by many people in the form of faculty of this institute, the non-teaching staff of this institute. All of them have contributed selflessly to make this 2 days event a reality. Thank you everyone for making this a great success. And also would like to thank all our student friends and the entire team of Nitte, NMMIT, the resident engineers maintenance department for executing this program. And we hope you'll have a meaningful day ahead today and tomorrow. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Over to Dr. Sudhir Rajkesu.
Well, good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. The next session will commence exactly at 12 p.m. in the same auditorium. That would be the plenary session of this international conference. And also there is an announcement with regard to All the students to occupy the chairs. Along with the delegate.
We welcome you all for the plenary session of the 8th Nitte International Conference.
Panelist Mr. Sandeep Nayak, Chief General Manager, Projects MRPL, Mangalore; Mr. Ravichandran S., General Manager, Karnataka Bank, Mangalore; Dr. Giridhar B.H., Professor and Head, Department of Pulmonary Medicine, Chema, Mangalore; Dr. Gururaj H. Kidiyur, Director, Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management; and the session will be moderated by Dr. Nandan Prabhu, Associate Professor, TAPME, Manipal. I request Dr. Sudhir Raj K. and Dr. Hari Prakash to accompany the panelists and the moderator onto the dais.
The moderator, Dr. Nandan Prabhu, Associate Professor, TAPI Institute of Management, for this panel discussion. He has over 33 years of experience in academia, and he has also earned his PhD on the relationship among transformational leadership, workplace spirituality, and team effectiveness. He teaches courses in the areas of accounting and corporate finance. His research interests are in the areas such as corporate governance, leadership, team effectiveness, workplace spirituality, mindfulness, and organizational politics. He has published about 35 research papers in the academic journals. We are delighted to have you here, sir.
We have with us the panelist, Mr. Sandeep Nayak. He is an experienced Chief General Manager with a demonstrated history of working across various functions in the oil and energy industry. He is skilled in learning and development, HR policies, sourcing, screening, team building, counseling, and performance management. Mr. Sandeep Nayak is a strong professional, graduated with a mechanical degree and masters in HR, followed with several skill-based certificate courses in HR from TVRLS. A hearty welcome to you, sir.
We have amidst us Shri Ravichandran S., a seasoned banking professional with over 36 years of experience. Sir began his career at the age of 19 with Karnataka Bank. Throughout his journey, he ascended through various roles, becoming Chief Manager in 2011 and subsequently serving as Assistant General Manager, Deputy General Manager, and later as General Manager overseeing credit underwriting since March 2021. Sir is a Certified Associate of Indian Institute of Bankers, CAIIB. He has earned multiple accolades, including 9 membership in the prestigious Managing Directors Club and recognition for leading branches to Best Branch of the Bank status. We are delighted to have you here, sir.
We also have with us Dr. Giridhar B.H. He is a professor and head of Department of Pulmonary Medicine, JKSHIM, Mangalore. He is trained in allergy and asthma from CMC Vellore. Dr. Giridhar B.H. has completed his training in respiratory medicine from Department of Pulmonary Medicine at CSMMU, Lucknow. His area of interest is interventional bronchology. We are extremely delighted to have you here, sir. Welcome to you.
We also have Dr. Gururaj H. Kidyu, Director, Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management, with 23 years of experience at TFI Management Institute in Manipal. He has a background in teaching, research, consultancy, and academic administration. His earlier roles include Channel Support Manager at Digital Equipment India Limited, Channel Development Manager at Wipro, and Area Sales Executive at TVS Electronics. Sir holds a PGDM MBA in Marketing Management from TFI Management Institute and a Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering. We welcome all the plenaries.
It's time to florally welcome our panelist and moderator. I call upon my friends to florally welcome the guest, Melinda, to Dr. Nandan Prabhu.
Ladies and gentlemen, kindly note that this session would go up to 1:25 p.m. Kindly note, this will go up to 1:25 p.m. Over to our respected moderator, Dr. Nandan Prabhuji.
This is a kind of informal yet formal kind of discussion. There won't be any long lectures, but there will be some informal kind of sharing of ideas. In between, there will be some questions and answers also. From my side, as the moderator of this session, I will be asking some questions to the panelists. Roughly, we have with us about 80 minutes. So in the beginning, for the first 20 minutes, the panelists will speak for 5 minutes each, especially around the key idea of this conference. Each of these panelists represents one particular sector: manufacturing sector, banking sector, academic, and medical sector. So, from the perspective of their sector, they will explain everything about the challenges and concerns that their sector is experiencing in the post-pandemic period. So they will take about 5 minutes each. So roughly we will take about 20 minutes in the first leg. That will be followed by 2 rounds of questions. I will be asking 2 questions. So after 1 round of question is over, that will be followed by the second round. This will take approximately 30 minutes. And then finally we will keep the floor open for the audience to ask some questions. You can direct any of your questions to any of the panelists. They will respond to your questions. And finally, at the end, the panelists will conclude by speaking about, again, the same key issue of this conference for 5 minutes each as their concluding remarks. So let us start with Mr. Sandeep Nayak. He is representing the manufacturing sector. And manufacturing sector, and especially the oil sector, has gone through a number of worldwide changes. And everywhere, throughout the world, even including the oil producing and exporting countries, are thinking of a drastic shift in their policy. Those who are producing oil and exporting oil want to shift the focus of their country from being an oil producing and exporting country to some other perspective, for example, Saudi Arabia. And in India, Nitin Gadkari is already talking about less and less reliance on oil and shifting to other energy modes. Therefore, looking at these challenges, I request Mr. Sandeep Nayak to share his views on the challenges faced by manufacturing sector in general and oil sector in particular. 5 minutes.
Thank you. Very good morning. It's a wintry morning. And I thank Professor Gururaj Kidyur for giving me this opportunity to come here and participate. My first visit to K.S. Hegde Institute of Management, a regular at TAPME, but first visit here. So I think generally all TAPME fellows will be drawn this side, and you'll create that brand here. First thing is, as Prabhu was saying, the oil sector was badly hit, yes. We remember this pandemic as somewhere around 11th March 20, where WHO declared it as a pandemic. And then, it was total, everything gone astray. Suddenly we find that we've got to perform, otherwise the country goes down, and we need to keep the fuel stocks running. So the pressure was on us to deliver as normal. So the learnings, were very, very harsh, or you had no time to even think. But the intro did talk about me as a HR person, but then I went through so many departments that at that time I was in marketing, and marketing had everything to do. So I did spend some years in materials, some years in marketing, some years in operations. Currently I'm in projects, heading projects. So we are looking out for new units, we are making new plants, and that's where the infrastructure development has started or is going on. What happened is, suddenly we saw a decline in jet fuel. Jet fuel went bad because the flights started going down. But we had to keep the diesel going, and MS started going down. The MS is motor spirit for us. Diesel we call as HSD, and jet fuel as ATF, or what we call what is required for flights, and the LPG. which is used for your cooking gas. So LPG had to go on, otherwise the kitchens shut down. So it was a tough challenge for us at MRPL. We did not have work from home. We were compulsorily asked to come to office and keep the plants running because there was no other option. So it was a pleasure for us to drive on, very clean roads with no traffic at all. Only the police used to ask me, "Are you mad to go there?" So I said, "Nahi, office jana hai." Nahi. Yakeppa, nimma health nodi. So all that, used to come from them. But then no option. So we became the frontline COVID warriors, just like the hospitals became. Only thing for us is, we did take a bit of risks. Probably we also went through some COVID times, I don't know, but did not get admitted because things went fine. Probably if everybody was screened 100%, it would have been very tough. But we saw to it that, the operation side, we got the shift people on 50% running. And we couldn't stagger much. The marketing had to go on. So if you ask me the challenges that that came up and what we learned is there are a lot of learnings. Learnings in the sense of we need to what was just a COVID really woke up the oil sector in short. It is not COVID only. It was much more than COVID. Suddenly the world realizes that oil reserves are getting scarce. So even this started coming in key, what do we do now? This was a wake-up point. COVID just served as a wake-up point. It made everybody sit and think back that we go to alternate fuels. And how long will these reserves last? So we started thinking of alternate fuels. We started thinking of how to, those days innovation had to play a big role. So started diesel, delivery at home. We started having Bowsers, which will take things to housing societies. We got in touch with a few housing societies of Mangalore so that, it goes there and then they put in the fuel into the cars or vehicles. But we also saw that the number of scooters went up. So, but then that is not sufficient for us to increase MS production as such. But we had to get diesel in because the railways had to go on. And a lot of migrants had to move out. So learning the challenges now was that getting workforce. Workforce is a challenge post-pandemic, that how do we keep our workforce? And because most of them are migrant labor. So this sort of thinking has taken place. These are lessons we learned that we need a migrant workforce around. We need to have alternate, ways or increasing the plant. We went for a debottlenecking later, increasing our fuel capacities and moving it, building some more tanks, because then the inventory also shoots up. Once you have a pandemic like this and product don't move out, we can't bring the plants to a stop. So we have to go at we reduce the load. The load did go down. And once the load went down, once you get the refinery to zero, it's very tough to start up. So we cannot do it. So you need to have some tanks around. So we built in some more tanks under the BS6 banner. We started building a pipeline direct to Bangalore. The project is on. You'll have ATF moving directly to Bangalore to Devangunti. So that project is on. And this is another learning that we had, that we need to move our products through pipelines as much as possible, because trucks were a problem those days. We couldn't get trucks for evacuation. They said driver shortage. So we went into a problem there too. And in case of, people where we have a colony right inside our campus, so maximum of our crowd we could manage. Only thing is, few of us were outside, but maximum crowd was inside the colony. So that again is an asset to us, that we could get our people within. And we also made sure that, our guest house is open. Our clubhouse got converted into some 100 to 200 bedded place where we isolate people in case they have COVID. So the project people were badly hit. And this is, as we say, COVID is something that is going to be there. So disruption is going to be there. So we have already introspected on this part that disruption is going to be part of the system. The current world is very volatile. Crude rates are going up and down. We've just gone into a brainstorming as to what we can control, what we cannot control. So you have wars going around. You have Ukraine wars is going around. Israel is there. And things are not very clear, but we see India as coming up very strongly around 2050. And this is the oil sector. We are still saying that around 2050, the West or something will start going down. The demands will going down, but Asia is going to become a powerhouse. And then we are looking at China. A lot of petrochemical comes from China, so we want to capture the petrochemical market. This is where we are going to diversify. So petchem is what we are looking up for. We have also, as part of this COVID innovation, learned that we can make medicine, pharmaceutical products also from, crude oil. So that research is going on. A lot of R&D is on. Some of it I can share, some I cannot share. So because of our, I've signed some very secrecy documents. So we are saying the demand of products did come down, and our job now is to reduce the crude, buying cost. So we had Russia, luckily. We got a lot of, crude from Russia at very low rates. But then now we have found that Russian crude is also getting over because everybody went behind Russian crude. And so we've got to look at alternates. So we are looking at, we have a very strong parent in ONGC. So ONGC is going to be our crude sourcing desk. And they're going to make available crude to us from, we are thinking of a joint venture sort of a thing. And marketing, we are going to go full hog. This is one more thing we learned in COVID, that marketing is one place. We were only a standalone refinery. We started with HPCL, so HPCL was to evacuate products from us. Then we found that, nobody's really taking. So we had to have a marketing department for our retail outlets. I just saw one on the way to Nitte. So, we call it the High Q brand. High Q standing for high quality. And so our target is around 2,000, at least 2,000 outlets by 27. And as I was saying, there's a lot of talk of HPCL merger and all, but then we are looking at merger not immediately happening. So we are going ahead with our marketing bunks. We are not going to stop there, because it's absolutely, you must have heard of VUCA world and all that. So it's one of those VUCA worlds now. So we cannot go into all this. We are thinking of, cutting down our operating expenditure. This again was part of COVID challenges, learnings of how you save. People, Professor Kidio did say about, he would have a lot of people physically present here. COVID took us to the virtual era, virtual meetings. what happens in virtual is you don't have those real interactions. It's all on the screen. But very smart marketing people, or even HR people, need to see the person in front. You can do a lot of mind games and marketing games through actual meetings around. So this is one thing that virtual platforms did help for that period, but and will stay. But it will not be there permanently, because you have a lot of people, even in the oil sector or any sector for that matter, who would not like to leave their TADA and all. Ek trip to marna hai. So as long as that system goes on, कि they miss their hotel visits and वहाँ flight visits, थोड़ा points बनाना है. So suddenly people said, hey, मेरा points ही नहीं बन रहा यार. It was that sort of thing. So people who had got addicted to all this 5-star hotels, 7-star hotels, found themselves suddenly without any hotel. Sit in your room and start talking. We did not have the problem of work from home. Because work from home is, yes, people talk of hybrid, people talk of that, it helps. But then from our end, we found that work from home really is not really helping us out, because everything has to go on distributed control systems, DCS. So you cannot operate a refinery sitting at home. I think I must have reached my 5 minutes. So I would not take more time, because the question answer session is there. So we can really open out during that time. So I'd like to give the floor back to Mr. Prabhu. Thank you.
Let us move to the banking sector. I call upon Mr. Ravichandran to speak about how the banking sector as a whole has undergone a change, especially in the last 7 years. Two prominent things have happened. First, digitization. Second, financial inclusion in a big way. And along with that, COVID has also impacted. We have been hearing about the banking sector incurring losses, if not losses, very less amount of profits. But very recently, I read a report which stated that the combined profits of the banking sector is almost reaching, say, several tens of thousands of crores, maybe 1 lakh crore. So why all these changes are happening, and how do you look at it?
Yeah, good afternoon to all. In fact, I would like to start in this way. We had 3 unique once-in-a-lifetime experiences in the last 6 or 7 years. The first was demonetization. The second one was the GST implementation. And the last one is COVID. I don't think that at least any one of us will be seeing such kind of unique experiences in our lifetimes. Maybe the younger generation might come across something. See, the COVID, yes, it was a very dreadful experience for everyone, and as it impacted every industry, it has impacted banking also. Starting with the employees, it is one of the essential services. We cannot just shut the doors down. So many of my colleagues forced to get into the field, work and the branches and get contacted with the dreadful disease, a dreadful virus, and I think close to 100 of more colleagues. We lost hundreds of our colleagues. So that is one part. Second is banking always goes with the economy. When the economy grows, banking industry shines. When the economy shrinks, banking suffers. Probably my one part of answer to the profits which the banks are showing is probably due to the economic growth which we could establish keeping the GDP at 6.5 to 7, whereas the world is looking towards a 2.5 to 3. The second part is the non-performing assets, in fact, first let me respond to his question and then come back to the COVID. The balance sheets are cleaned by 2016-17. So the much of the provisions which were eating the bank's balance sheet profits, now it is actually turning into the books. So that is one of the major impact of cleaning the balance sheets, and even the banks are more prudent in lending nowadays. Even the corporates are much afraid of becoming a non-performing asset or a defaulter. I was also in marketing and was traveling across India. I am basically from a corporate banking relationship background. I landed on March 16th, 2020 back to Mangalore. That was my last trip to before COVID. Then after entire 1 year, 2021, I was sitting in my office and doing the marketing. Marketing is one aspect, it cannot stop at any point of time. Death all over the world, with the patients dying due to want of medical support. People got struck in different parts, they were not able to return back to their natives. Families suffering, travel restrictions, changes in international travel patterns, all these compounded the issues of banking. Mainly the disruptions in the global supply chains due to the closure of factories, transportation restrictions, and the closure of brick and mortar in retail. There were no shops open. Even if the shops were open, it is hardly for morning half an hour to 1 hour just to buy the essentials. Another impact was increased demand for healthcare services and medical equipment, which I think Dr. Giridhar will take it up. The main impact for the banking is the fluctuation in the currencies, fluctuation in the interest rates. You know how RBI infuses liquidity into the banking system and sucks the liquidity from the banking system. It is through the, anyone can answer this? Increasing, decreasing of bank rates, repo rates, SLR. More or less SLR is kept stable as of now, but as you know, the bank rates were brought down to 3.75. Unimaginable. Even the deposit rates were below 5. Imagine in India, traditionally the older generation, the retired segment depends on the interest income. From 8 to 9%, suddenly the income is just half. It is one of the major impact. At that time, loans were available at cheaper rates, 6.5–7%, because the bank rate is around 3.75. Down the line 2 years, now the rates have gone to 6.25, and the loan rates also have gone to 9.5, 10. Imagine the one who has borrowed at 6%, now paying the interest of 9%, there is a negative amortization. The installment which he is paying is not even covering, for a home loan buyer, is not even covering the interest portion, forget about the principal. It is going to be one of the major issues in the coming days. Banks are trying to address it. Reserve Bank of India stepped in at the right time because many of the industries were closed, business was not happening, and as you know, as a management student, bank finance is the major part of any business. You can say in India, hardly 15 to 20% run their own business with their own money, with their own capital. Rest of the entire Indian economy runs on the bank borrowings. Imagine everything come to standstill. The major worry for every banker is account turning into NPAs, non-performing assets. Then the first installment of, they thought that COVID is just for 3 months, it will go off. So they gave 6 months moratorium. No vision, nothing is, no light at the end of the tunnel even after 3 months. Then they thought that it is not enough. They introduced a restructure, postponing of the repayments of the loans availed by them. Then that is also not sufficient. They introduced government-backed additional loans. First, initially they gave 20%. First we thought that with the first wave everything is over, bankers were just relaxing. Then came the second wave. I will say the impact of the second wave is much more than the impact of the first wave because it practically killed the economy. Imagine a borrower who has thought that after 6 months my business is going to revive and I am going to start performing. Again he had a shock. Again one more restructure was given and additional second time government guaranteed scheme for another 10% is given. At that time it was, people who were taking it was, paisa mil raha hai, le lenge abhi. The one who prudently used is able to repay. The others which was used only for payment of some debt or something has now overburdened. The person who was borrowing 10 rupees now has a borrowal of 20 rupees, almost 30%, so 15 rupees, almost 30% of the debt is increased. Now comes the pressure. The second government guaranteed loans repayment, which was given 2 years holiday, now started couple of months back. This is one of the major challenges for all the banks. Unless and otherwise further the economy improves, the repayment will be a question for all these particular accounts. But this introduction of the restructure packages and this support by the government helped many of the borrowers to survive that particular tide and come out of it. In fact, just as a statistical figures, it was around 3.62 lakh crores of credit in 1.19 crores of account provided by Government of India through the banks, and 92% of this went to micro and small units. They are the worst sufferers. All the large corporates can survive anything. They have more of capital, less of borrowings. And in fact, private and public sector banks have availed maximum combined share of this 85% of the guarantee loans given by the government, which they have distributed among their borrowers. But the positive aspect of pandemic is it created awareness among the public, among the bankers about the digital channels. We cannot imagine a street vendor or a roadside pani puri wala having a barcode before COVID. Now, I don't think any of you carries cash in your hand. It's a GPay, very commonly used. Even for a 20 rupees of pani puri, you show the GPay. So that is a kind of awareness COVID has created among the public. And our digital banks, digital transactions, which were around 55-60%, now 90-95%. And prior to COVID, maybe 8-9 years back, our branch size used to be 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. Now, we are pushing our regional heads, our ODP regional head, Mr. Rajagopal is sitting, to have a branch with 800 square feet. That we say that it is very spacious. So that is a kind of awareness which has come among the public, and also it comes with the risk. More of digital transaction, more of risks, password sharing, digital issues, and RBI comes heavy on the bankers. Now that is the most challenging part of it. So we have to modernize the IT structures, which is going to be a long-term challenge. Accelerated digital transaction during the pandemic has altered the customer expectation also. Previously, the customer is happy with one particular payment or one particular module. Now they want more and more. Everything they want in mobile only. And especially the younger generations. I don't think any one of you is visiting the banks nowadays. Right, no? Right from paying the fees to the college, going out for a outing, going for a evening tea, coffee, everything through mobile. Even if you ask me, if you check my purse, my wife always used to tell me, you don't have even 100 rupees in your purse. No, that is a fact for each one of you, I believe. So the increased reliance on digital platforms makes banks more susceptible to cyber threats strengthening cyber security measures. We have to stay ahead of what the fraudster thinks. So there is a separate cell in every bank is creating. So post-pandemic, with the improved supply chain relations, diversified sourcing and invest in technologies, banks are getting back into shape along with the economy. That is how even the profits are getting shown in the balance sheet. The digital transformation is expected to continue. The banks need to have more products compared to others. If Karnataka Bank comes out with a product, within next week, say XY Bank, Z Bank will come out with another product which is superior to this. So it is going to be an evolving scenario in the banking industry. Each bank is going to compete with each other by trying to give better products. Recently, Karnataka Bank has introduced a salary scheme, corporate salary scheme. We have given some 10, 15, 20 fringe benefits to that. I am sure that in another 1 month, some other bank will come out with further developed fringe benefits. So you have to be on your toes to see that the customer expectation are met, which is going to be a major challenge for the banks. Then again, your secrecy. Now RBI says mask the details of the customers, like all your PAN cards, PAN numbers, your Aadhaar cards are with us. It should not be visible to any other people at any point of time when we share some information to others. So we need to mask all those things. More and more, your biometric authentication methods. Now, do we use the password to open our mobile? What is it? Huh? Either fingerprint, while lifting only it is on, or your face, right? So probably the artificial intelligence will come, nothing is required, maybe you are thinking of opening the mobile, will open it, right? So we are going into the next stage of technology where the banking is also striving have to keep in pace. We are never going to be in that race, I know that, but still bankers are trying to keep up to their level. So I think I am also crossing the limit. So I would like to have more of interactions, expect more of questions, being a management candidate, more of financial questions, how India is going to shape, how India is going to come out of issues, if any, if you think that you are having. I am very glad to answer you all, and thanks for the opportunity provided for me to be part of this conclave. Thank you.
Academics are known for creating new terms. During COVID, a new term, frontline COVID warriors, was born. We knew of only soldiers as being warriors, but the entire country, adored and prayed for a new kind of warriors, doctors and nurses, during COVID. However, they have, faced the challenge of COVID like none of us. And especially during the post-COVID period, hospitals are undergoing massive changes. There is the issue of corporatization of hospitals. Pharmaceutical industry is one part of the sector, and the hospitals is another part of the sector. So pressure is building on medical sector like never before. So let us hear from Dr. Giridhar the different aspects of challenges that the sector is facing.
Good afternoon to everybody, and thanks for the organizers for providing me this opportunity to interact in this special panel. So everybody knows that health sector went through one of its crises in the last 100 years. It had a ripple effects, or it's having ripple effects on all the sectors, but it came crashing on us. So it was in March 2020 around 23rd of March or 24th, we had our first COVID case in a 11-month-old baby. That was one of the first few pediatric cases of COVID in India. So suddenly task force, everything was prepared, everything, but we hardly had a PPE kits lasting for 2 days. So everything has to be rationed, and some of our health workers has to work without PPE kits initial days. So the problem started from there. But this is the sector, health sector, because there was no other option. We had to stand up and be resilient, and there are so many sectors helping us also became so resilient. So as they say, when going gets tough, tough gets going. From a zero PPE production on the day 1 or in the March 2020, today we produce 2 lakhs PPE kits in India. So that is again the Atmanirbhar Bharat, or the push given by the government to be self-resilient. Similarly, the diagnostics, there are so many issues because we never knew whether it's a pandemic or it's a bioterrorism. There are still, the debate is not settled. So government had to restrict the diagnostic facilities to only government institutes initially. So we had to send the samples all the way to Hassan to get one report. It would take 3-4 days. So in case of viral pneumonia, waiting for reports for 3 to 4 days would mean everything to the patient and the caregivers. So later that was eased out, and today we have accredited 3,000 diagnostic lab facilities to test COVID in India. Again, that's also a huge growth. And then coming to the ICU facilities, there was short of ICU facilities because just like how we saw in the recent Israel-Hamas concept, they had an iron dome to prevent against missiles, but it was outnumbered clearly. Similarly, the number of COVID cases outnumbered any ICU facilities which can be thought of. So immediately, normally we would have in a Justice Case Hegde hospital which has 1,000 beds, the ICU facilities will be around 40 to 50 beds. But that has to be suddenly jocked up, and every part is converted into ICU, and ICU only patients would go who need a life support. Otherwise, the rest of the patients who can be managed outside. And similarly, even the ventilator cost came down from approximately 15 to 20 lakhs to 5 lakhs rupees. Those ventilators came under the PM special care fund, still working, and they are again, it's a testament to our resilience and Atmanirbhar. So those ventilators are still working, and we could lift up the facilities because of our own resilience, the associated sector which provided us that. Similarly, O2 crisis, all of you know. So we had the 1,000 metric ton O2 medical oxygen capacity at that time, but in the peak of second wave, it was, as Ravichandran sir said, it was worst affected. So we had to jack up the facilities to 20,000, from 1,000 to 20,000 metric tons, but the associated industries came to the help of everybody, and that was achieved. Similarly, the pharmacy sector, so many medicines like chloroquine were sort of in almost all the parts of the world, and we could able to provide that. And luckily, the communicable diseases came down, like dengue and malaria. We didn't see almost for 2 years, luckily, mainly because of the construction sector. The construction migrant workers moved away, the water dwelling, all those things stopped, and fortunately, we didn't see particularly dengue and malaria, which is a hotbed in Mangalore is hotbed for those diseases, but now again they are coming back. That's one bad thing. Vaccine production, we had first case on March 20th or so, and within 11 months my first vaccine was given. So that's also it's a huge applause should go to the scientific community. They produced homemade vaccines within 10 months, and not only the vaccine production, the way the vaccine was given, and it was the healthcare givers, frontline workers, elderly, comorbid people. So the most immunocompetent people were given the vaccine at the last. So the use of technology like Arogya Setu app and Cowin app to do all those things was remarkable. The Cowin app was made open source then, and more than 142 countries have embraced the Cowin app. Again, online monitoring of the patients and teleconsultations has gone up significantly. Last in December 2022, through eSanjeevani platform of the government, 80 million teleconsultations were given. So I think this is the one which we have to work further, teleconsultations, because the specialist consultations can be available in the far off places where most of the time geographically it's very difficult to access. So that the COVID has taught us that the remote monitoring and remote treatment can help to a great extent. Again, health insurance coverage was just 15% in 2017. Thanks to Ayushman Bharat and the renewed interest and the sensitization the COVID has created, health insurance coverage in India is whopping 70% now. Again, the preventive strategies, people went back to their drawing room and started using their traditional decoctions. They're more conscious on the health, fitness, air, water, what they drink, air which they breathe. All these things also has generally improved the health among the people. Conferences, medical conferences has largely become online, and I think in a way conferences has lost the sheen, I must agree, but as sir said, it is more for a networking. For that purpose we have to do. I think the conferences will take a new, this thing as a more than a information dissemination, it will become like a more of a networking and maybe the building the more robust relations between the institutions. I think it will go to that kind of thing. Definitely Vaccine Maitri, which we have given the vaccine to so many countries. Again, the kudos to our scientists and political class. It has given the, I think, muzzle to the global power which the government is yielding today. I think the first came when the certain materials were denied by the US to develop Covishield and Covaxin, and similarly government restricted the export of certain material which was needed for the development of Pfizer vaccine. So then US has to relent and allow those things to come. So from there we see the first signs of muzzling the power in the geopolitics. And now with vaccine being given to so many countries, it also increased our goodwill. Healthcare startups, there are 2 healthcare startups become unicorns in 2022, especially the smartwatches. There's a lot of technology, distant monitoring, and non-invasive monitoring of the so many electrical signals in the body. I think there's a huge potential for research in that group. The main concerns remains the bioterrorism, whether are we there for more such things? Possibly yes. I think the way the global geopolitics is unwielding itself, so I think we can't be sure that the bioterrorism is not a part of it. It could be a bioterrorism also, and we may see more such things in the future. Thank you.
There could be at least 4 perspectives while we analyze the changes that are happening in the higher education sector. First, the policymakers' perspective. Second, the administrator's perspective. Third, the teacher's perspective in the classroom while he or she engages with the students. And most important, the student's perspective itself. Professor Gururaj knows thoroughly about all these 4 perspectives. I consider him one of the best marketing professors, not just I. Professors across B schools of the country consider him to be one of the best marketing professors in the country. So he has looked at education and its challenges from all these four perspectives. I request him to throw light on the challenges that this sector is facing from these perspectives.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for those words. It was March 2020, so this COVID thing had just started. So my son, my only son, was doing his engineering in Mysore. He was staying in the hostel. So me and my wife, we felt that we should go and see him. So morning, we started from Udupi, reached Mysore around 12 o'clock in the afternoon, spent some time with him, and then we stayed in the hotel overnight. Next day, early morning, again we came back to Udupi. By the time we came back, it was 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. And at 5 o'clock, he calls up and says, college is closed, hostel is closed, and they have asked us to vacate the hostel tomorrow morning. So we did not want to risk him coming by bus. So the third day we went to Mysore, again by car, took him from the hostel, stayed there overnight, and the fourth day drove back. Now this is how COVID impacted us, and I'm very sure each one was affected by something which was totally unexpected. Now when it comes to educational institutes, like Dr. Nandan said, he said perspectives, I would like to say it as stakeholders, right? So you have students as stakeholders, you have faculty members as stakeholders, you have recruiters as stakeholders, especially in the B school context, and you have the management of the institute as a stakeholder and society at large, because whether, we are responsible for the society because there are certain objectives that we need to meet, keeping in mind the expectations of the society, right? But what kind of graduates we should produce and what kind of traits they should have and so forth. So all the stakeholders were impacted. The institute's administration was impacted. Student intake process such as admissions was impacted. Student career guidance such as placement was impacted. When it comes to faculty, the courses, that was impacted. Faculty had a question now, how do I design my course now? How do I deliver the subject? How do I deliver the course? How do I assess the students? How do I evaluate the students? So the entire landscape of education, whether it is higher education or elementary education, everything was impacted by COVID. Of course, none of us were prepared for this, but we had to move forward, right? So there was something called as technology. We said, okay, technology can solve this problem now. It was not that technology was not being used in education at all till that time. We had some institutions offering online courses. So it was coming bits and pieces. There were some faculty members who were innovative enough to, use some YouTube videos, right? Those kind of things in the classrooms. But it was more of volition. It was not, forced upon anyone. Whereas we encountered a situation where we had to adopt technology whether we like it or no. There are a lot of theories about technology adoption. It says that people will adopt a technology if it is of relative advantage, if it is less complex. There is enough literature written. But here was one situation, you had to adopt technology whether you like it or not. It is something called as a forced technology adoption. Now here is where we had bigger challenges. If you really look at the traditional way of teaching, right, which is in the classroom face to face, one might say, what's so great about it? Yeah, you have a faculty member who stands in front of students and probably goes on speaking for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, whatever it is, right? Now the question here is that should the faculty member only inform the students or should the faculty member also influence and inspire? I'm saying that the faculty member should be an influencer as well as an inspiring individual. And I believe most of my colleagues know that. Right. The second aspect is in the classroom, there is a lot of interaction that takes between the students, peer-to-peer interaction. This is a great opportunity for the students to shed their social inhibitions. It is also a great opportunity for them to hone their communication skills. It is also a great opportunity for students to understand that yes, there are different types of people, there are different types of perspectives, and it takes all kinds of people to make this world. Education is not just about rattling out whatever is there in the textbook. If that is the case, they need not come to the classroom at all, they can read it at home. Education is about building personalities. Education, whether it is medical education or technical education or whatever it is about providing responsible citizens to this country with the right kind of attitude. Now the question before us was, what is it that we need to do? Are we just delivering knowledge? Or are we just a little above building skills? I mean, the students know how to do certain things, which typically happens in labs. Now imagine my son did his mechanical engineering without going to a lab. I am a mechanical engineer myself, though I don't consider myself to be a good mechanical engineer. I don't know anything about mechanical engineering, but I remember every day we had to go to the lab in the afternoon. Do something. Is knowing something sufficient enough, or there are certain things that you should do? If I ask each one of you, how do you swim? Everyone will say you jump into the water, start beating your legs and hands. But how many of you can actually swim? That is a skill that you need to develop. There are certain subjects, there are certain topics, there are certain modules where skill imparting is very important, more than just giving the knowledge. Right? Now, if you look at a carpenter probably gets everything right, doesn't know anything about trigonometry. Right? So that is a high degree of skill without any knowledge. Also, even more important is the attitude part which is built in the class. Okay, I have learned to do this thing, but is it the right thing to do? I have learned these things happen, but is it the right thing which is happening? That becomes extremely important. Now, this is where the faculty members as stakeholders were really stumped. There are two things. One, they were not as technology proficient as their students. Students by that time were okay. Anyway, they were using mobiles. They felt even more happy that they could bring mobiles into the classroom. Right? In fact, students would say, why don't you use more videos, sir? Why don't you use this technology? They're okay, it's fine, right? But faculty members, it was not very easy. One, adoption of technology. We had to learn. But I must say, the way they came about was phenomenal. There are reasons. That comes to the second stakeholder, which is the institute itself. And that is the time I saw in India how important education is considered by everyone. MRPL, oil companies, price goes up. Why does the price go up? Our costs have gone up, so our price goes up. Interest rates go up. Medical charges, if you are not insured today, you consider yourself dead. But education is not an area where you can increase fees indiscreetly. It's a very highly regulated industry. The government says that educational institutions, by definition, have to be not for profit. Correct? So, we cannot increase, our costs are going up, we cannot increase fees, but still educational institutions spent a lot of money on building the infrastructure. Within a short time, digital boards, subscribing for whatever is that Zoom or Teams or other things, enormous hours of training for their faculty members. make them competent enough to deliver online. I think that was done within a very short time. March this happened, institutions were closed. April, May, by the time it is June and July, most of the educational institutes are ready. School teachers, pre-university teachers, degree teachers, postgraduate teachers, it was phenomenal. And I think students also received it very well. It suited their convenience. They could sit at home, right? So, especially if it is a residential campus, you are at home, so no problem. Your mom is there, she will cook you food, right? And you will have to be formal only top half of your body. Right? There were genuine, but there were problems. There were genuine problems with bandwidth and connectivity. I read in newspapers that there were students from villages who were going to nearby places so that they can get access. And some people, I believe, I mean, it is really sad, you know, they had to climb up some tree to get that signal. It only speaks about their zeal for learning, right? But we also had instances where, you know, you have to look at a class of 50, 60, where everybody is 1 square inch, right? And most of the times it blanks out. Then you ask, it says, sir, something happened, I'm not able to connect or something. So the thing is, we have to take on face value and believe. And we believe our students always. Okay. So these were the issues that we had to come up with. Now coming to institutions which had, you know, some kind of a mixed pedagogy. You know, you have institutions typically in schools, colleges, what happens is more of a knowledge giving, you have lectures and all. But if you come to institutions such as medical colleges, or for that matter engineering colleges, where a lot of skill is being built, right? How do you do that? Labs. Or for that matter, a good B school which uses you know, experiential learning methods. How do I do a case study? How do I do a simulation? These were great challenges, right? But I believe what had happened was, see, the proof of the pudding, they say, is in eating it, right? There is a check and balance in certain types of schools, right? For example, you would say in a medical college, most of the people end up writing NEET, right? Because today, I guess, there is no future just with an MBBS. Everybody has to do higher education. So, okay, you had students who went through the regular face-to-face stuff, and you went through students who had this online kind of training. How many of them made into NEET? Is there any difference? Doesn't it speak for the quality of education? I think there was no dip, right? I mean, the performance levels. I mean, it is my hypothesis. But when it came to all over India, it was same. So okay. But for us, what happened was our, test of the quality comes when recruiters come and interact with our students, right? They felt that, okay, they're okay, no issues, right? In fact, many colleges had this admission process online. Instead of calling the candidate face to face, everything was done online. And in the classroom, the experience was that they're okay. Okay. Now, what has happened here is there is a unanticipated benefit here. So the schools saw that, okay, they did not go travel, they did not call students and all, we can do it online only. So it is a cost-effective way of recruiting students. So this is a good outcome, right? So there have been certain things which are good also. For example, now if you look at, I come to what has happened after the post-pandemic. Earlier, this online teaching, online education was not coming under the framework of regulators. Today they are more open. They are saying that, okay, 20% of your teaching can be online. Right? So they are more open to this. So because of this, now students get a benefit of a blended learning. Right? So there are multiple ways in which knowledge is coming to them. There are multiple ways in which the input is coming to them, and faculty member today can decide which is the most effective way of imparting the knowledge to the student. Right? That kind of a flexibility has come. Right? Otherwise, a dogmatic regulator is now open to more of technology use. That is one good development that I have seen, right? But there are certain things, you call it as a legacy, unwanted things which still continue, right? What I have noticed, I have not taught in any other institutions other than B schools. Okay, so that with my exposure, I say that students' attention span has become shorter, right? So the thing is that you really have to be extremely innovative to engage them to stay focused for 60 minutes. So as a faculty member, I have to change my style after 15 minutes, after 20 minutes. I give them a small exercise. I ask them to discuss with the person sitting next to them, bring some traction in their body language and so forth. So this is again an adjustment which I have to make on a continuous basis, right? That is something which, bothers me as an after effect of, this COVID. The other one I feel is, the social skills. Right? So there are batches which are called as COVID batches, the entire batch, right? That is something. But I think it's a temporary. Others are now back in the classroom. Okay, fine. One outcome I see is a plethora of edutech companies came into the foray. They saw it as a business opportunity. Educational institutes were struggling. They were trying to use technology. Somebody said that, okay, I have a better technology. Somebody comes and says that I have even better technology, right? And more and more edutech companies, they started their business seeing a tremendous opportunity. They had a great run, right? Because many corporates, many educational institutions, they adopted this technology for meetings, for classrooms, for delivery. So many things happened, right? Now, what has happened is they got into the business. Now they have to stay in business and grow. And they're still around. Now, where is the issue now? Okay, it's business, right? But the issue there is who should actually decide what is the best way of delivery? Who should decide what should go into the curriculum? Edutech companies are business enterprises, right? Is it their job? Whose interest will they keep in mind? Is it the profit of their companies? Isn't it the job of academicians to decide what should go, which is the best way? Right? Now, why I am getting concerned about this is there is so much of talk about use of technology in education, and typically these edutech companies go overboard. They're saying that without technology, you are dead and buried, you can't deliver, no one can learn. I don't think that is true. I think this parampara of Guru Shishya face-to-face in person has its own merit. Technology should be used only when it enhances student learning, not just for the sake of technology, right? But I guess, to conclude, I think I have done my 5 minutes, right? To conclude, it is educational institutions which have become much more smarter now. They know that there is a great amount of advantage. They also know what is the limitation of technology. And I believe most of them have been able to balance it, right? So pandemic came as a disaster. Pandemic forced faculty members into technology, right? Incidentally, I'm embarking on a research study that, most of the faculty members adopted technology under external force. How many of them really want to continue? It can be a good research paper, right? Yeah, so planning to do that. But I guess it is not only educational sector. He spoke about finance sector. He spoke about manufacturing. He said it only talks about the resilience of mankind. That, whatever is the disaster, we have always come back very strong, much wiser, right? Thank you very much.
We have about 15 to 20 minutes with us. So I will be asking two questions, putting them together. So I request everyone, all panelists, to give their answers briefly, and let us see whether we can take a few questions from them too. My first two questions to Mr. Sandeep Nayak. Recently, especially in the context of our country and also all over the world, there has been a debate whether one should lay emphasis on globalization in business or we should emphasize nationalism. I'm not talking about nationalism from the point of view of ideological perspective, but from the point of view of growing one's economy. Ruchir Sharma, one of the most original thinkers whom I have seen and read, observes that all over the world there is a development of nationalism with regard to the growth of economy. So should India concentrate on only on self-reliance? Therefore, should it make for the world or make for India? This was a debate which was there, and one school of economics led by Raghuram Rajan said that you should make for India and concentrate more on services sector. However, another school of economics in India itself argued that we should make for the world and therefore we should become a manufacturing powerhouse. So what is your take on this?
Yeah, I'll just limit myself to, the refining industry and the manufacturing sector as such, because I think in the software it's more of the globalization, etc., that's going on. But if you talk about refining industry, we are still, the demand is more, supply is less. So we are still importing. So the thing is, vocal for local is, very much there. There's a lot of opportunity in this, in India having more of petrochemicals. Petchem is becoming one of this most happening things now. Oil to chemicals is another which we are really chasing. We call it O2C. Now everything goes A to B, B to B, all this. So one O2C has come. That is oil to chemicals. So this is something of the future. And with such opportunities left, first would be limiting ourselves to India, and then exports are there, which, the margins in export is not too high. We find more margins in India rather than exporting. So I'd say that, we stick to India because the potential is huge. And yeah, globalization we should not leave totally. It's part and parcel. So we are looking up at joint ventures, small time, trading, international desk crude trading, we are thinking of Dubai, etc., having a desk. But that's only, you get it back to India. So we are looking from that angle. So our economy grows, we become better. We've got to reach there somehow. Thank you.
With regard to banking sector, my question is with regard to the challenges that the public sector banks are facing. This is not about private sector banks. Let me come to the private sector bank in the second part of the question. There is an attempt to consolidate different public sector banks by merging them. So what is one plus of this? And if at all there is a flip side of this process, what is it? That's the first part. Now relating to the private sector banks, during the course of your initial remarks, you said that marketing doesn't leave me at any point of time. So has banking job become more of marketing now? Therefore, are banks losing their sheen from their earlier image of being good to work for kind of organizations?
Yeah, both are interesting questions and different prospects. I would like to take the first part of it. Consolidation is always a good. We had seen State Bank and its subsidiaries. It is merged into a single entity. It's a big balance sheet now. It's a giant. So the chances of failing is very, very remote when you have such a big balance sheet. And it also commands respect in the market. I will say that State Bank drives the market. So in that way, consolidation is a positive approach, but at the same time, there has to be different PSU banks to have a competition among ourselves. See, competition brings out the best out of you. Let it be in a classroom, let it be in any industry. Wherever there is a monopoly is there the growth is limited to that extent. You don't try to compete with others because there is no one else to compete. When you compete with others, you start thinking of the future. How can I develop? How can I grow? How can I better than him? So in that way, I feel that it need not be n number of banks, but there has to be some different kinds of banks to have a competition among themselves, which will ultimately be beneficial to the customers. Coming to the second part, marketing in banking. In fact, for the last 3-4 years, if you see, marketing in banking is happening through digital channels. The physical marketing is also losing its shine in banks. In the olden days, bank job is a white collar job. When I joined the bank in '86, if you get a job in the bank, you will never look back, and that's what happened to me. In fact, this is my 38th year with the bank. But now it is changed. It's not an office-going job. We don't expect our branch heads and the people to sit inside the cabin. We want our manager cabin to be always be empty so that they move out for marketing. And in fact, one of the ways of checking the output of the manager is calling him in the landline. If he is inside the cabin, then nothing is happening in the branch. This is a perception as of today. So I won't say that banking has lost its shine, but every industry has to take a new step, new shape in the days to come. So the banking also has diverged to that level. So still, banking is a good job. Anyone of you gets the job, don't leave it.
In India, we have always had the tradition of that is best summed up in one of the parts of the Sanskrit verses, Vaidyo Narayano Harihi. The pricing, this part of the Sanskrit verse also implies that price was not a concern. The trust was the main issue between the physician, the doctor, and the patient. But now, when suddenly falls ill, the first concern that comes into the mind of a customer, a patient, is that of the pricing problem. So how to address this problem of pricing, the cost of medical treatment? Then second, the moment this question is asked, a medical administrator will naturally come up with the answer that if we don't charge this much of money, hospitals are not sustainable. So is the current model of a medical treatment, model of corporate hospitals, sustainable? Is it completely Western in notion? What is the indigenous way of providing cost-free yet sustainable medical treatment?
First of all, I am a wrong person to answer this because I don't come from a corporate background. And second thing, I come from the health industry doesn't exist in one block. It exists in multiple blocks. There is a government which is providing the health care, and then there is a private. In the private, there is a clinics, then comes the nursing homes, then comes the medical colleges which give a health care, and then comes the corporate. So one needs to have the insurance so that the price doesn't matter. And I must say that if you take an example of Mangalore, which is definitely one of the, I am not telling because I am in Mangalore, and otherwise also Mangalore is considered as one of the a good healthcare, including Manipal. So if you go to a medical college, the health care facility is very much affordable in a medical college setup. But if you go to a corporate where the top 2% of the or the top 5% of the people access, definitely that becomes extremely unbearable. So I think that choice which we have to make, still the healthcare is available at a affordable cost provided if you choose a right place. And the pricing and the industry, I am actually a wrong person to tell, because I am as a role of doctor, at least we don't have absolutely any pressure regarding what is your outcome, whether you are contributing a system or this thing. No. As long as the patient care is good and our teaching responsibilities are proper, they don't ask us anything else. There is no question of looking for how much we are paying you, how much we are generating. That system does not exist at all in medical colleges. So we are essentially we are there for that purpose, because it's only sir was telling in our discussion. In this thing, it's simple. You also want the betterment of the patient, and patient also wants the betterment of himself. So that there is no conflict among us in the medical colleges. So that's why I am unable to answer that question. One is insurance, and second, we have to choose where we have to go. It's obviously we can stay at a hotel which costs 5,000 rupees. Also, we can go to a hotel which costs 2 lakh rupees per day. So I think, from an insider, I would say that what premium you people are paying for the what look or what this doesn't come with the same competency, which I can assure you. Or in a place where this thing, suppose in a medical college or even in a good nursing homes or in a non-corporate kind of these things, still the skill is available, still the competence is available. That choice, I think, the one who wants the service has to make. Thank you.
Professor Gurraj has already talked about one problem. In fact, I had noted down that problem. He used a term, I had noted down the same term, attention deficit syndrome. So how do we address this problem of attention deficit syndrome? Because of the overwhelming presence of attention deficit syndrome, which is almost a universal phenomenon now, does it call for difference in approach towards what we now term to be teaching? Perhaps there is more of cognitive overload that we try to disseminate. Instead of providing this information overload to students, is there any other method of building personality, the term that you used, where learning gets more focus than the mere teaching?
See, when there are two things here. One is the capability to stay attentive. I think that should be done at the primary education level, right? So there probably, I am not an expert on that, but when it comes to adult education or higher education, I don't think we can change that. So the challenge is on us to be very innovative. What I'm trying to say here is that they come in and we have to accept that their attention spans are low. So we probably have to make a lot of adjustments in our teaching. And that is where, marketing comes into the picture, right? So in marketing, we always say that your starting point is the customer, who is the recipient of your product or our service. So if you look at teaching as a service that we do, we have to look at our students as our customers and understand what is their behavior and, what are their likes and dislikes today, right? So what kind of examples do you give, right? Now, is it possible to give an example from some movies and bring it into academics? I'm not talking about people who send some 70 PPTs saying management lessons from Lagan and other things. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying in-class interventions, right? Now, that actually is dependent on what kind of faculty training that you give, right? I somehow feel that, I have seen it mainly in India. The more and more degrees that you accumulate, the more and more stiff and serious you become. Right? So I'm a PhD, there is nothing more to learn. Right? And be very scholarly in the class. That poor chap, is a graduate, yeah. Right? Use jargons. Right? Make it even more complicated. So you are teaching, something like economics, and you go and tell them, if you don't focus, economics is a dragon that will kill you. He's already dead by that time. Right? Now this requires a different kind of faculty training. So what kind of training programs that you, faculty, there are different skills that are required. One is, okay, you know, but am I able to deliver what I know? So you could have 100% knowledge, but if you are not able to deliver 20% of that, what is the use? On the other hand, there could be someone who knows only 50% but delivers that very effectively. Whom do you call effective? See, the test of a faculty is not what the faculty knows, what that person is able to transfer. See, our job, we talk about today's research seminar, it is for creation of knowledge, right? Research creates knowledge, and teaching disseminates knowledge. And that is basically an attitudinal issue among faculty members. How do I make the subject very simple? How do I make it, how do I deliver it in such a way that they are able to relate it to their day-to-day life? And let me also tell you, there has to be an element, let us say at least 10% of showmanship in teaching. Do I use my body properly or no? Or do I send a very negative signal? If I'm walking in the classroom like a tragedy, then who will be interested? What I'm trying to say here is that the responsibility is on us today. Higher education. I cannot say that you are like this, go back and start studying from first standard all over again. I cannot say that, right? They are parametric, they are not variables. We have to make those adjustments. We have to make. Okay. So we have to make those adjustments, right? That is one. So you see these kind of habits that are staying attentive is also a skill, right? Now I don't know, in kindergarten, no subjects were taught. When I went to the school, what the teacher taught was, are you switching off the light when you go out of the room? Are you holding your hand when you cough? These were built into our system at that age. Just like your value system, you can't change them when they are 23, 24. You have to accept them the way they are, and we have to change. We have to adjust our methods of delivery. Use innovative methods, use experiential learning. If this is not going very well at a lecture, can I give some exercise? Can I give them some activity? Can I put them in the groups and make them do something? What matters to me is at the end of the day whether the student has learnt or no, whether there is a takeaway or no. That is very important. You can't depend on the government to say that, come up with a new education policy so that it increases the attention span. It is in the hands of the faculty, and faculty is responsible for that. That is my belief.
If I don't close this discussion in a few minutes, program coordinators are ready to pounce on me. I can take 5 minutes. Okay. So, can I request you to ask any question? There is a scope for 2 questions. You will ask a question. Mic can be given to them. Introduce yourself and then name one of the 4 panelists and ask a question. Don't give lecture. Question should be framed in just 1 or 2 sentences.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. And great discussions from the panelists, and most of the experiences that have been shared are similar to our experience also in Nigeria during the pandemic. One question, there are two questions I want to ask. One, I don't know who will answer it, okay, because there'll be discussions around health, around education, around oil and gas, around the banking industry. I want to know what was the experience like in terms of spirituality during the pandemic. When I say spirituality, back in Nigeria, religion, or let me say in terms of religion, okay? Christians, Muslims, and here I know that we go to temples. The experience in Nigeria during the pandemic was that, of course, no gathering in churches, no gathering in mosques, so churches had to resort to videos. You have the priests, the pastors using YouTube to preach. You stream live preachings and the rest of it, and you just follow on your screens back at home. So what was the experience like here in terms of religion? That is one. Two, to Director Sir, talking about education, we in Nigeria, we realized that students, just like you said, were comfortable, okay, sitting at home and then taking lectures and the rest of it. But at a time, they got bored because they didn't have access to money, okay? When you come to campus, your parents will give you money to go to campus and do a lot of things with it. But now you are at home. Nobody was going to give you money again because you have the food, you have everything. So at the time, they got bored. They wanted to come back to campus because of the money, and two, because of the freedom. They can come to campus, mingle with friends, and the rest of it. So what was the experience like? And again, talking about education, we also realized that students were comfortable taking assessments online, okay, multiple choice and the rest of it. And when they came back to campus, especially for those who got admitted during COVID, okay, who never had pen on paper exams, coming back to campus after COVID, it was difficult for them taking the pen on paper. They wanted the multiple choice and the rest of it to continue. But hey, you are back on campus. You can't continue the multiple choice. So the failure rate actually was higher because now they have to do pen on paper compared to the pass rates where they had multiple choice. So those two things, maybe you share light on it. And of course, the religion aspect. What was the experience like?
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I take that? See, the students, first thing is the second question. When you said that the students wanted to get out of their homes because of the freedom, right? They were feeling constrained and so forth. See, I think that is a function of the family ecosystem, right? So I think in India, the home environment is much more pleasant for most of the youngsters. Maybe there could be some cases where there is some disturbance at home and they feel suffocated and constrained, right? So that I don't think was a major issue. In fact, we had requests where the students said return our fees because we are taking online. They never realized that our costs had gone up, right? And return our hostel fees and so forth. Most of the Indian students, and I feel all the students would agree, that they're extremely comfortable with their parents. Yes or no? Yes. Right? So they would like to, see, they get mollycoddled a lot by their parents here. Okay. So I think I have answered, because these two are different ecosystems, and our experiences in this country, in this geography. The second one about the spiritual thing, right? Now, when we call something as a religion, now whether the religion has something spiritual in it or no, we don't know. A religion could be a set or code of conduct, that you should do this, you should not do this. This is right, this is wrong. It has nothing spiritual, right? Spiritual is going into the metaphysics, right? Spiritual is asking fundamental questions, right? Who am I, where I have come from, right? What is the purpose of this life and all. But I think by and large our DNA, I'm talking about the subcontinent as a whole, whatever community they belong to, right? They share the same DNA here. I feel that we have a very strong spiritual chromosome, right? So many of us got reconciled to the fact that, "Arey boss, these things keep happening. You know, we Indians, we have an external locus of control. External locus of control. Right? We feel that, okay, there are forces around us which control our life. We never felt that, you know, it has been such a cruel fate on me that I was born during COVID time. I don't think many Indians think that. They don't say that, you know, there is a gross injustice which has been done. Why am I being subjected to it? No, they feel that, okay, these things happen. They are a little more philosophical in their approach. And they have a habit of taking things on their stride. I'm not saying it has worked in favor of Indians all the time. Sometimes, you know, fatalism is not really, you know, may result in fatalism also. But when it came to COVID, people started giving their own explanation. Somebody said that, you know, this is end of Kali Yuga. Somebody said it is likely to happen, this is what happens, and other things, right? The person who's already got some spirituality built into it, I did not see a major shift in that, right? But, you know, our Prime Minister said, go and, but that was a symbolic action. I don't think it had anything spiritual in that. So there were 3 questions. I'm sorry I missed the last one. Do I have time, or can we take it?
The last part, sir, is about the attitude of students to pen on paper exams now that they are back on campus.
Yeah.
And the rates, like I said, the rates of failure. You know.
Yeah, see, the thing is they were happy doing assessment online, but later when they came back, see, it is not business as usual. It was done not as an experiment. We had to do it. So if we say that, okay, we are doing this as an experiment, and then they come back, hey, this experiment works, why did you discontinue? Then probably we don't have answer. But when we say that, listen, it was done in a context. Now we come back to the normal, they accepted it. I think the way you put it across, that is very important. And second thing is, even when you do MCQs, you can make it equally tougher. It depends on your skill to frame the question paper, right? You can have an open book exam also. I know students going to some faculty and requesting, for heaven's sake, don't give open book. We can't crack that, right? So that's a matter left to the faculty. I think I have answered your questions. Thank you very much.
Yes, one last question, madam.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Muhammad Manik. I'm from Hubli, Chaitan Business School. My question is very straight. Post-pandemic, we were expecting that the investments and the business which was there in China will move to India. And if we don't, this is directly to the manufacturing sector, if we don't outsmart China and make India as world's manufacturing superpower, are we heading towards the distribution center of Chinese goods? Thank you.
Yeah, China's moved much ahead, and but yes, China is globally competing a lot with the US now, rather, and I mean, comparing China with India is actually not very proper, because India's got a long way to go. Seeing the Chinese aggression or Chinese aggression in marketing, and the way they have invested in a lot of countries and forcing countries to go into debt, and then they're playing a very beautiful game. So India is not into it. India is into straight manufacturing and straight this. But what we in the oil and gas, what we are doing is we are trying to compete with China. A lot of petchem business is coming from China. So I think we are in a position to give a big fight in the petrochemical business. The petrochemical is expanding at in a huge way. You have Cochin, Bharat Petroleum also expanding. You have Vizag, HPCL expanding, all in the petchem. So all expansions in the petchem is going to happen in this next 10 years or so. So this is where we are going to give a big fight to China. But financially they have priced their goods very cheap. The cost of labor is very cheap there. And we'll have to think of ways, we'll have to innovate to such an extent that we can compete globally with them. But in case of manufacturing, yes, China's right now in the leadership position. Yes, they've got a very different system by themselves politically. You know, the way if you see the newspapers over the last 1 month or so, it's all China only. You know, the way they're coming up. Today's newspaper talks of how military they're going to take on CIA. I mean, of US. They're going to just compete with the, I think they are much ahead. They're not just disclosing. They found, what is that, drones over US or something. So what China is doing, even we don't know, because they're playing very differently. So, we can compete, we can get our economy up. We are very honest, we are very peace-loving persons, and we talk about intellectual things, you know. We are straight in our business. We do not know how to hide or how to say we should not share this information. But Chinese is regulated. We don't know what they're doing. So when you are against a blind player, it's very tough. But then yes, we are making a start, and we have that, you know, call competition, we are there, up. And you know, we are very good at duplicates. So China ka duplicate even we'll do.
Moderator, sir, please.
Ek Ulhasnagar is in Mumbai.
We have had a very wonderful discussion session with all the panelists. I thank all the panelists for having provided an excellent intellectual feast to all of us. Thanks to our panelists, and thanks for your patient hearing.
Thank you all. Now it's time to present the memento to the moderator.